I say, I ain't got nobody, nobody now. Welcome to the world of Sasquatch. This week on Chilling with Sasquatch, we look into how the twins win, the existence of an unknown Irish serial killer, and an absolute monster. What are the humans doing?
Do you think you're ready? Can you handle the truth? Or are you in denial and demanding more proof? They demonstrate in real time how they're spinning you lies, but no one pays attention, no one opens their eyes. They walk around like zombies with their head in the mobiles, signaling their virtues with a pick on their profile, yeah. Signaling their virtues with a pick on their profile. So if you think you're ready, you don't need more proof. Conspiracy deniers are denying the truth. They fabricate our problems and pretend to provide the best solution, but we all know they lie. They lied about the weapons and they lied about health. They lied about the fact that they're transferring the wealth. You should really notice how they're pushing the fear. Keep everybody terrified and not thinking clear. Yeah. Everybody's not thinking clear. Keep everybody terrified. Yeah, thinking and not thinking. Keep everybody terrified and not thinking clear. When you do, you realize that this is their trick. It's getting really stupid now, they're taking the mick. Said, do you think you're ready? Can you handle the truth? Or are you in denial and demanding more proof? They demonstrate in real time how they're spinning you lies, but no one pays attention, no one opens their eyes. They walk around like zombies with their head in the mobiles, signaling their virtues with a pick on their profile, yeah. Signaling their virtues on their profile. Hey.
Oh, Sasquatch? Oh, yeah, he's like the Sandy Waxler of YouTubes.
Next time he'll get his own ketchup.
I think that might be getting a little chunky. I might need to trim that up a little bit. It's been gone to 4 minutes. I can't have that. How y'all doing, folks? How we doing? I got a buddy over here in my pocket. Check this out. Y'all know that guy, right? It's the Wandering Hippie. He's over here going to check out this here video extravaganza I've got putting together for everybody. How you doing, bro?
Really good. Real good. Just took a walk on the beach in the sunset. Beautiful.
Yeah, I started to get a clip of that to put it behind me to see if you noticed, but I got busy doing some other stuff. Drinking Red Bull. It's one of them.
Ooh, gotta have that Red Bull.
Hit me with a sponsorship. I'll roll with it. Hey, so told you what we was doing tonight, right? So we got twins. We're gonna start on a high note and end on the bottom because this last one sucks. Like, as in, like, no joke, trigger warning type sucks. Like, this dude is an absolute monster. But first of all, we're gonna do the palate cleanser. Twins that had these kids. Well, they're brilliant children. You know how this goes. Mama kills Pops. Kids know about it. She plans to kill the kids. Kids get out from under it. It's a classic coming of age tale, right? Everybody knows that story. No? Just me? Damn. Let's change that. Got a whole bunch of people.
I don't know if it's just me or a little bit quiet. Maybe it's just me.
Probably not. I keep bumping my volume thing over here.
I mean, I am on a phone, so sorry.
Could be that. Who knows? Let's go through chat right quick before we get started. Ajok gets the gold. Scrappy Dreams gets the silver. And Seward Dog the Patriot 420
Ajok
gets the bronze. We got Izzy Pops here. Izzy Lucy Morningstar says Papa in chat. I don't know what that means, but okay. Sunshine's in the house. We have Tales Told in the Dark. Snark and Sass. Boopy. She's in here. Always like it when she comes. We got Toby. Are you sure that's your name, brother? Double check. We got motherfucking LBG. Who else we got? Nobody? That's everybody? All right, cool. So we can make a start of this and talk to folks as they come in. It'll be good. You ready? I'm ready. You excited? I'm excited. Yeah, that's the dude right there. He's the one.
Which hides a disturbing secret. The couple cheering in the stands is Celeste and Stephen Beard. They are attending the high school graduation of their twin daughters, Jennifer and Kristina. Now, look closely at the woman sitting alone in front of them. Her name is Tracy Tarleton. From the outside, she looks supportive of the twins, clapping as they walk across the stage.
I don't know, bro.
What the girls don't know is that just a few months before this footage was taken, Tracy was released from a psychiatric facility and has been meeting with their mother in secret, plotting a violent crime that will force the two teenagers to run for their lives.
She's very scary. There wasn't enough locks on the door for the two of us to feel safe.
We were scared to death. We thought she'd kill the girls.
You better get your home tonight. You understand that? Because if you don't, you will be sorry.
It's 1993. 13-year-old Kristina lives with her mom, Celeste, and her stepdad, Stephen, in Austin, Texas, while Jennifer, Kristina's identical twin sister, lives with their biological father, Craig, in Washington State. The twins' parents went through a lengthy custody battle after their divorce, which ended in the twins being separated between both parents. Living hundreds of miles away from each other was difficult for the girls because they were each other's best friends.
I missed her a lot. I missed Jen a whole lot. We were built-in friends with each other.
I would not know how to be a regular sibling. You know, it's always been nice to have someone that knows exactly what I'm going through. It was definitely hard not to have my other half.
It's July 1996. After 3 years of living apart, the twins have finally planned a summer trip together, reuniting at their grandparents' house in California. They're really excited because it's the first time they have seen each other in over 2 years.
All right, recap on this point. So the twins haven't had any time together for the past 3 or 4 years. So they're not tuned like most twins are, where they go everywhere and do everything together. Probably not finishing each other's sentences and doing the psychic symbiosis crap. Maybe. What do you think?
Yeah, I think twins are always kind of like that. I think a lot of the time they want their own identity, right? So they want to be separate, not be seen as the same person.
What's up? Oh, Wolfie. How you doing, bud? Yeah, I saw that Archduke Ferdinand bit. All right. But you should be stoned. That should be the norm. This is facts detected. Right? Same. Yeah, no, I suppose. I know of one case, and I might go look this one up for another show, but I know of one case where a set of twins was separated at birth, and one was raised with like a cousin's family and the other was raised with the grandparents. And I can't remember why this was, but they never knew of each other's existence until many, many years later. They ended up competing for like the same pie contest or something, and they won first and second place. right? Because they were both bakers. They were both married to women named Sally. They were both, and then Sally was also a receptionist, and they met both of them at like the local pop stand or something. They had almost identical life histories. Wacky shit.
My sister and I never skipped a beat.
Laughing so hard that we were crying, and I just couldn't believe that we were actually back together again.
However, things take a turn for the worse when Jennifer tries to call their father, Craig, to let him know they've arrived safely. But no one is picking up the phone. They keep trying to call, but still, no answer. After 2 days of not talking, the twins received the news that their father has been found dead in his home, leaving behind a handwritten letter. He had been quietly struggling for years, leaving his daughters asking themselves why he would do this.
I felt like I died that day.
The twins are in a state of shock. What was supposed to be only a 2-week reunion turned into Jennifer suddenly moving in with Kristina, Celeste, and their new stepdad, Stephen Beard, in Austin, Texas. At first, she had a hard time adjusting to the change, but when she met Steve Beard, her new stepdad, he was surprisingly very welcoming and loving, showing a lot of attention to his new stepdaughter.
When I first met Steve,
Red flag. Red flag. Right there. I'm sorry. You can be as nice as you want to be. It's still a red flag. But we'll see.
it was just so sweet, which was a relief, you know, because he was technically my stepdad. On Sundays, it was really special because Steve and I would always go to breakfast together. I was very grateful to have his relationship.
After years of living together, the new blended family, from the outside, appears to be living a happy life. The sisters have just started their senior year of high school, and they for once have a stable father figure. Stephen even formally adopted the twins, giving them each a special family ring.
He had always wore his.
He just gave it to us after he adopted us, and we thought it was the coolest thing.
I mean, I was definitely moved that he had this special ring made, and I mean, just the adoption alone, you know, I felt pretty connected to him.
But everything changes on October 2nd, 1999, at 2:30 a.m. Jennifer is staying with her boyfriend.
Okay, so ostensibly, homie is a nice guy. What's up, John Denicola? Derek, Dark Shadows, Parahistories, and Collectibles. That's another mouthful there, bud. Welcome in. They're from Ontario. So he seems to have more or less been a decent dude. They liked him. Although one of them obviously has daddy issues, you know.
So the male adopted them. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
He apparently went through enough turmoil with those girls that they accepted him as the father figure, not just, you know. So decent guy, I suppose. We're going to assume he's a good guy to this point so far. Although there has been at least one red flag, but okay. So there's currently a discussion about the superpowers available in chat. Dennis Bowles says he's the broke Batman. And Toby says his ability is to use garbage as a weapon. Sasquatch approves.
While back at Stephen's house, Kristina is asleep like any other night, when all of a sudden, Kristina's bedroom door swings open.
The lights turn on, and my mom is running through the door saying, "Someone's at the door." And I'm like, what is going on here? I jump out of bed because she's in a panic, and I'm on my way to that front door when I see these white flashing lights.
Kristina is in a state of shock, not knowing who is outside or what they want, so she runs to the phone and calls 911 in a panic.
An actual person, like a legitimate person, as an explosive. What are you going to do? Put them in an oxygen bag and then set them off? I don't understand, bro. We going for spontaneous human combustion? What are you talking about? I'm so confused.
Got me.
Twin powers activate. That's pretty. I'd forgotten about those guys.
The girl tells them that there is someone banging on their front door, and sirens are blaring outside, with lights flashing all around their home. The 911 operator tells Kristina that the people outside are the police. Moments earlier, the dispatchers received this 911 call from someone else inside the house.
What is going on there?
I'm in bed.
Okay, are you there by yourself?
My wife is somewhere in the house. I can't find her.
Christina rushes to the front door to let the police inside.
Open the front door and it's cops. And they're like, is your dad home? And I said, yeah, he's upstairs.
Christina hurries to her stepfather's bedroom with the police as her mother frantically runs behind them.
The paramedics, they were already working on Steve by the time myself and the police officer got into the room.
This was a man who needed immediate medical
Exactly,
attention.
me
And
too.
he needed to act quickly if he was going to survive.
The paramedics try to stabilize Steve, but he's losing a lot of blood. While they scramble to transport him to the hospital as quickly as possible, one of the police officers makes a shocking discovery: a shotgun shell on the ground next to his bed.
I'm like, what? Are you telling me he was shot? And they said, yes. And I just couldn't believe it.
Christina calls her sister and tells her what is happening as Steve is airlifted to the nearest hospital.
Just couldn't believe what he just said. I'm panicked. I'm definitely panicked.
Back at the Beard household, the crime scene is blocked off as investigators conduct their initial walkthrough. It seems like someone went through a side door, which was left unlocked, and went up to Steve's bedroom to fatally shoot him. But before they can start investigating their theory, they need to take DNA swabs of everything, including all family members who could have been in the house at the...
Everybody got your recorders ready to get this on live? I love hairy nuts.
Hairy nuts.
I love hairy nuts. Y'all can clip that. I don't care. I'll own it.
the time of the crime, Kristina, Jennifer, and their mom, Celeste.
So at that point, I'm shocked that first off, Steve had been shot, but I wouldn't have even thought who could have done it. I was wondering if it was burglar or random, but as soon as we walked out of the house, Celeste whispers to me, if the police ask you who might have done this, don't mention Tracy's name.
Why would Celeste say don't mention Tracy's name?
Tracy Tarleton. 6 months before the night of the attack, Celeste met 45-year-old Tracy. She was the manager of a local bookstore in Austin and had recently become close friends with Celeste. She would often get invited by the twins' mom for dinner and birthday parties, and even attended their high school graduation.
They had this weird friendship.
I just remember thinking that this lady wants more from our mom than just a platonic relationship.
The twins are on their way to the hospital as they try to understand what's happening. They are confused because they were told by their mother not to mention Tracy, but that only raises suspicions in their mind.
I was thinking maybe she's protecting Tracy because she thought it was Tracy.
After getting to the hospital and talking to the detectives, they asked me, who do I believe shot my father? And I said, my mom doesn't want me to mention this, but I'm not supposed to say Tracy Tarleton.
Tracy Tarleton is investigated, and her closeness to the Beard family makes her the prime suspect. But something is off. Without any clear motive, detectives have suspicions that someone else is involved.
There was no reason for Tracy to do this completely on her own.
Police quickly obtain a search warrant for Tracy Tarleton's house based on compelling evidence: a 20-gauge shotgun shell and the very bullet that had wounded Stephen Beard. They then proceeded to Tracy Tarleton's home and knock on her front door.
Miss Tarleton was asked if she owned a shotgun. She said yes. I asked if I could see it. She thought for a few minutes and she said, okay, you can see it. She gave us a Franchi 20-gauge shotgun, had her name inscribed on the weapon itself.
Law enforcement take possession of the shotgun, bringing it in for further analysis. Days go by, and everyone is left waiting for news from the investigators.
Hello, not
until
really
finally
here. Welcome
the
in.
detectives have the results.
I want to show you
that
this
shotgun
so that you understand why I'm not highlighting your comments. When you use just emojis, it doesn't come up as the emoji. It just shows like hand paint waving, and nobody wants to see that. I'm not going to lie to you. That's the only reason.
So can I ask, the way I understand it here, someone fired a gun while the girls were in the house and nobody heard it? I mean, a shotgun? Even a 20 gauge?
Even a 22.
Yeah, I mean,
would
doesn't make much sense.
It doesn't, unless the girls had just never encountered gunfire and had heard a car backfire and was like, that must be what it was. Because if it was only one shot, you might miss it.
Damn kids on the block lighting fireworks.
Right.
You know?
All it takes is a second to rationalize it away.
Too hot in here? Not too loud?
What's up, Four Corners Report? Good to see you, bud. Welcome in. Let's get your name up. Wrong button. Let's get your name up there. How you doing, bud? So there's some serious nefariousness, and that's the stepfather that just got capped. Okay.
Mm-hmm. I don't know
All right.
why he didn't say on the phone either that he was shot. Well, I don't get that.
Yeah,
Confusing.
I'm absolutely baffled.
Because he didn't say he was shot, right? He just said, I'm having pain.
It's fine. It's fine. I was just showing you why, explaining. That's all. What's up, Leafy? Good to see you, bud. Where you at there?
Turns out to be the shotgun from which the bullet that injured Mr. Beard was fired from.
October 8th, 1999, 5 days after the shooting of Stephen Beard, Tracy Tarleton is arrested and charged with attempted murder. But investigators are not satisfied. Tracy is refusing to talk about why she did this, and they know there's more to this story than they have so far. Detectives continue to ask questions because they believe Tracy did not act alone, and there might be someone else responsible who currently walks free, but she remains completely silent. Meanwhile, Stephen is in the hospital, and after a painful few months of fighting with the twins by his side, Steve passes away from his injuries related to the shooting.
We loved Steve. He never wanted us to worry about anything. He just wanted us to be loved and enjoy our lives.
Coming from Washington State, losing my father, he filled that role for me that I'll never forget.
As the sisters try to cope with their father's death, they are only left with pain and more questions than ever. Why would someone want to hurt him? Their mother Celeste tries to be there for them and goes with the girls to prepare for the funeral and buy a casket for him, but the twins never expected what would happen next.
A lot of crying's going on. We just lost a loved one.
And while we were there, she purchased 2 pink caskets for Jen and I. And she's like, I'm going to get these for you guys.
The confusing part.
What? This is really crazy.
Definite red flag here. Definite. How long you play? These are 19, 20-year-old girls. They're not going to be occupying that casket for hopefully many, many, many years.
Yeah, at least 40, 50 years, right?
I mean, we can hope for 60 or 70, but at the same time.
But wow. Weird. This whole case
that's a way red flag.
And where's the mother in all this?
He's the one who was the caskets.
Oh, okay. Oh,
her second husband.
Oh boy.
Yeah, we got us a Black Widow over here. But she's already bought caskets for her girls. I bet she's got life insurance on them already too. Betcha. I would. I mean, not me, but you know what I'm saying.
To me, was Celeste suggesting that 18-year-olds needed to pick out a casket. And in the back of my mind, I thought, well, am I going in this casket soon?
Local newspapers and television networks start publishing the story, and everyone starts to worry that the real killer might still be walking free. But without any concrete evidence, the investigators are at a standstill. In the midst of it all, the twins notice their mom's behavior is becoming...
What if one of them was a juggalo and didn't want the pink casket?
Right?
I mean...
Not every girl likes pink either. My son bought my granddaughter a pink Nike beautiful backpack, and she don't like pink. So now he's wearing it on his motorcycle riding every day. It's funny.
Yeah, that's beautiful, dude. One of my daughters absolutely adores pink. My other daughter likes this weird purple color. That is the other color that things for girls come in, apparently. To this day, she almost always has a bit of that color on her somewhere, no matter what she's wearing. If she's got to break out a marker and color it into her dress, she'll have a spot about the color of Snark and Sass's icon.
Right.
Which, yeah, whatever. To each his own.
increasingly disturbing and erratic.
We're all crying, and Celeste is just laughing.
She kind of had like these crazy eyes, kind of manic, very loud and emotional, but didn't really seem real.
But things reach a breaking point on February 16, 2000, when no one could imagine what was in store for two young twins.
She then said, "Hey, why don't we all kill ourselves?"
Brilliant.
And all of a sudden, she pulls out a knife.
She's holding it like
What the fuck?
No, mama. No, mama. I'll put up the dishes.
Don't worry, you'll be fine.
Yeah, we'll all meet in the afterlife.
We're going to see your daddy.
Hey, you remember the dog you had when he was 12 that went to the farm upstate? We're going to visit. Man. I think we're beyond red flag into like red flare territory.
Right?
Like,
Fireworks.
fireworks. Yes, sir.
this, and she goes to like kind of lunge.
She just stabs herself in the leg.
Blood starts gushing everywhere.
I was just like, what is happening?
The twins call 911 in a panic, begging for immediate medical attention for their mom. As the ambulance arrives, the paramedics rush to start working on Celeste, attempting to stop the bleeding from her leg. The girls are in a state of shock as their mom is quickly brought into an ambulance and driven to the closest hospital. Over the next weeks,
Motherfucker said, "I'll be right back. You start without me." That's fucking thinking on your feet, bud. There you go. She might have got my ass for lack of anything to say. What a what? Oh, fuck that. I like me, man. Why don't you start? Go ahead. Show me how it's done. This chick really gives me the heebie-jeebies in the word.
while still in the hospital, Celeste continuously calls both sisters, becoming more and more unhinged and disturbing.
And she's yelling.
Welcome in Lawless World
and
TV.
Screaming at me over the phone.
Would go from normal to screaming.
Hopefully we're going to be able to get him in the next week or so to do a Sasquatch Shills. And I'm talking to Unloved Garage, and I've got the Cheshire Cat scheduled for like later, like Saturday, for anybody who's interested in Sasquatch Shills. By the way, you can stream those, you know, your previous guest, you can restream the Sasquatch Shills. You just won't be on camera during the actual shilling part of it, but that gives you first round picks for seats in the After Dark. You know?
Roger.
Great. Roger.
Back to normal.
That's when Kristina has an idea that will later give investigators the evidence they need to finally uncover Steve Beard's real murderer.
That I thought, hey, you know what? I'm going to start recording her conversations because I want to play them back to her, and she'll hear, like, from my perspective, what I'm hearing and think, oh, that's awful. I can't believe I do that.
And you will be sorry.
But then, just as Kristina is about to stop recording, Celeste exposes a crucial piece of evidence that
She says, I hired somebody to kill Tracy. I froze. It made it all real, and it made it all unsafe.
the twins are terrified, realizing that the pink coffins she bought, the recurring bizarre and violent outbursts, the suspicious death of their father, and now her murder plot for Tracy are all leading to one thing. They will be next on her list.
Hearing that sealed it for me. Like any sort of doubt that I ever had that Celeste was involved with our father's murder, I don't have anymore.
And things get worse from here on. Their mom has been released from the hospital, and now the twins are in more danger than ever. At that moment, Jennifer and Kristina's last chance to survive is to go into hiding and make sure their mom can't find them.
I cleared out my bank account for Kristina and I to go on the run and not have any trace. We stayed in motels. Everything we did with cash. Celeste was trying to find us every day, trying to find us. All I kept replaying in my head was we are in danger. It was definitely terrifying. Like, we're not coming home from this.
As Celeste is on the hunt for her daughters, the twins, armed with the taped conversations of their mother's threats, go to the police to obtain a family violence protective order, which is granted. However, their suspicions of their mother's involvement in their stepdad's death can only be confirmed by one person, Tracy Tarleton.
This whole entire time, Tracy was keeping her silence, that she acted in this alone.
Tracy, who was in prison awaiting.
What you got against Celeste, other than it's an obvious stripper name?
Oh, yeah, I mean, the twist is strange. Like, she's just killing everybody for the fun of killing everybody. Doesn't seem to be any rhyme or reason to why.
We haven't found any motive yet so far. She just seems to be murking folks, but obviously she caught a payout with that first body and got away with it. So she's done it again with the husband, the new husband, I guess, the stepfather. Now she's aiming for her girls. Wow.
Oh, was there a record of other weird stuff happening in the previous husband? Do we know that? I didn't hear it.
We haven't gotten that far yet.
Okay.
We got to get to the part where they start actually investigating the crimes, right? What is an adooter?
I'm an early adooter. I have no idea. No.
Adoption. Adopter. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Get drunk.
A trial.
Auto spell.
Silent until March 2002, when she reads that the twins received a family violence protective order against their mother in the newspaper. In that moment, she breaks her silence and decides to cooperate with investigators, revealing to detectives the truth behind her motive, what investigators have been waiting to hear since the night of the murder, that she did not kill Steve on her own, but in fact, it was Celeste's plan all along. Now, with Tracy's crucial statement and the twins' incriminating audio recordings, investigators finally have enough evidence to arrest Celeste for capital murder on March 28, 2002. However, just because Celeste is arrested doesn't mean a jury will find her guilty.
I felt like if she doesn't go to jail, I was going to be living underground forever. And I wasn't going to feel safe until she was in jail. With her on the street, nobody's safe.
The twins begin to work with prosecutors, lawyers, and Tracy Tarleton, the woman who pulled the trigger, to take down their mother and ensure she never gets out of prison. February 3rd, 2003, the trial begins of Celeste Beard. In front of their own mother, the sisters need to take the stand.
I felt like I don't want to be in the same room with her. I was afraid, oh my gosh, how do I stay strong enough to not waver?
Worst thing I've ever had to do in my life is see Celeste staring back at me when I had to sit on the stand and testify to everything that I knew she did. I was conflicted because she's my mom, but I just wanted to make sure that Steve got justice.
The twins describe that throughout all their lives, their mom has had severe mental health problems, causing violence.
No shit.
You know what else is weird too? They haven't mentioned anything about how the woman killed the guy with the gun without anybody hearing it. Like,
I'm hoping he'll go over that before it's over, because I know the details. I'm freaking out over here. Like,
right.
Outbursts and an overall traumatizing childhood.
Growing up, her emotions were all over the place. There was a lot of yelling and screaming and nasty phone calls. It seemed normal to us.
Jennifer reveals that when Celeste married 69-year-old retired TV executive and multimillionaire Steve Beard, it wasn't out of love, but it was to gain access to his large inheritance.
Did Kristina never talk to you about her feelings about Steve Beard?
Well, she said that she married Steve for his money.
Did she tell you about what would happen if Steve Beard died?
That she would get it all. She would say, why wouldn't he die already?
Did it appear that she was looking forward to that, or?
Yes.
Investigators uncover that after only 6 months of marriage, Celeste had spent over $500,000 of her husband's money, secretly buying all kinds of clothes, jewelry, and artwork. The twins even noticed that Celeste...
Right? Yeah, no, snark his ass is on it. Multi-millionaire? Check. Get early? Check. Creepy wife? Check. Married for money? Check.
Even beyond that, creepy. Like, She stabbed her own self in the leg. Like,
oh my Lord.
That's a
Oh,
whole
no.
that's
She
another
was-
level.
Let me tell you what she was doing. She was setting up for a self-defense claim. She was fixing to murk those two girls, and they got up and left instead of sticking around to get one of them left. The other one called the ambulance or whatever. And instead of being killed, they split up.
Quite a twisty and turny.
She's creepy as hell, dude.
Celeste had put sleeping pills in Steve's food on multiple occasions, and once he fell asleep, she would sneak out of the house. In February 1999, 8 months before Stephen Beard's murder, Celeste also had a psychotic breakdown, taking a gun, pointing it at her own head, and threatening Kristina's life. Because of that incident, she had to be forcibly checked into the St. David's Psychiatric Mental Hospital.
Wait a second. She took a gun, stuck it to her own head, and threatened someone else's life, or are these two different events? Because that's a little confusing. I'm assuming they're two different events.
Yeah, I mean, they don't really explain it.
Dear God, I hope they do. Jesus Christ, I'm on it.
In Austin, Texas. And while staying at that psychiatric facility, that's when Celeste met Tracy Tarleton. Their mother quickly started to show her a lot of attention, spending time with her, and ultimately developing a close, intimate relationship. After building all that trust, Celeste's real plan can be put into action. She could now manipulate Tracy.
She expressed to me that she wanted this sexual relationship with me, which I also wanted.
Celeste had been setting up Tracy, saying, Steve is abusive to me. He's so horrible. And Tracy believed that Celeste was really in trouble.
Celeste Beard, I don't think ever loved, maybe didn't even like Tracy Tarleton, but she was willing to engage in a lesbian relationship in order to get what she wanted.
I
Facts
saw this woman that I love in a desperate situation, trying to find a way to survive this man that was so awful.
Celeste said to Tracy, I cannot live any longer with this abusive husband. But Steve wasn't abusive.
That's when, in front of the twins and the jury, Tracy describes Celeste's plan for the murder of her husband.
You know, she says, oh, man,
Hey, Scotty Waddles, welcome in, buddy.
Not soon
Good to
enough.
see you.
She had a
Morgan, good to
plan,
see you too, bud.
and she
Isabella
wanted me to
Live
shoot
2.0.
him with my shotgun. Show me where to enter the grounds, where to park, and then we walked through how I would exit my car, where I would enter the house, how I would approach the bedroom. I walked down to the end of the building, I saw him, and I pulled up and I shot him. Shot him once. I shot him once.
The courtroom stays quiet after the shocking revelation. Celeste coldly watches Tracy on the stand, shaking her head and even laughing occasionally, but her smile disappears when her own daughters walk up to the front of the courtroom and now have their turn of revealing one of the most incriminating pieces of evidence they have, the audio recording of her murder plot against Tracy, as well as her constant threats to the girls.
On the tapes, she was histrionic. It was difficult to think that any mother would talk to a child that way.
The trial went on for weeks until on March 19, 2003, after deliberating for 3 days, the jurors finally come back with their answer. This will finally determine if Celeste will remain in prison for the murder of her husband, or if she will walk free to forever haunt the twins for their whole lives. Celeste will remain in prison for the murder of her husband, or if she will walk free to forever haunt the twins.
That's yikes.
All right, so gentlemen, ladies, should you ever encounter a woman with this type of a manic stare, that's not the Mona Lisa. That is a future serial killer.
Even her lips are like perfectly straight, like no frown, no smile, just wow.
Oh wow. Oh wow. She is so creepy, man. Like, let me tell you, I lived down the road from a buddy of mine for a little while there. He was staying in this crappy little like motorhome type thing. And he started dating this chick. I can't remember her name. We're gonna call her Star. And they dated for like 3 weeks, and he comes over to the house. He's like, look, this chick's crazy. I'm taking her back to her mama's house and, you know, the other county over yonder, and I'm just going to throw her out in the front yard and all her crap. You ride with me. I'm like, sure, why not? Like, let's go. I ain't got nothing better to do. So we're riding along, and he's headed to her mama's house, and she reaches up, taps him on the shoulder, like, have a cigarette. And he's like, no. And she asks the passenger for a cigarette. He's like, okay, has a cigarette, looks at me, asks for a light. And then she sits there, she puffs on the cigarette a little bit, and she looks at me and gives me the most stunningly beautiful smile I've ever seen, and put the cigarette out on the back of that man's head. And this is that girl's eyes.
Yeah, she'd scare me on the bus if she said move. Okay, I'm moving.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I'm gonna get up, let that woman sit down, and I'm gonna move to a different part of the bus.
Yeah,
she can have it. I might take
get off here.
It's for their whole lives.
Before we bring the jury out, if there is anyone in the courtroom who feels that they may have an emotional outburst, I would ask that you please leave the courtroom at this time. Ms. Johns, would you please stand?
Truly, we've been waiting for this for 3 years now. And so, yeah, it's very emotional, and you can't really know what 12 people that you've never met, what they're going to do.
Madam Foreperson, please read the entire
State versus Celeste Beard Johnson. Verdict of the jury. Verdict form 1, capital murder. We, the jury, find the defendant, Celeste Beard Johnson, guilty of the offense of capital murder.
Well, I had a flood of emotions. You know, I wasn't expecting to get so worked up. She is our mom. And
Hey,
it's
Mitch,
just
welcome
like
in, bud.
she's going to jail for the rest of her life.
Finally, the sisters get justice for their father's murder, and to conclude the trial, Kristina bravely takes a stand once more, but this time to directly speak to her mother and put an end to the fear she has been living with for over 2 years.
What did I ever do to you except love you?
Obviously plot to murder me and my sister.
Right?
Just one of the things, murdered my father and my stepfather. Probably, allegedly.
And smartly, crazily, like we still never really heard how.
We still got a few more minutes. They're wrapping it up. This is the whole thing happening now. So,
Like, did they put a couple pillows on the shotgun, or I mean,
I don't know.
find out.
But yeah, no, a Coke bottle does pretty good, allegedly.
Right?
That's how you treated us like trash. You say we turned on you, but you turned on us. You turned on the whole Beard family. He let you into his home, loved you, honored, obeyed you, and you violated him and murdered him. You are guilty. Shame on you.
Celeste Beard is sentenced to 2 consecutive 40-year prison terms, and she won't have the possibility of parole until she's 79 years old. The twins can finally breathe a sigh of relief, as now they don't need to stay in hiding. They can live their lives to the fullest. After court is adjourned, Tracy asks to meet with the twins and apologizes to them directly for the pain she has caused the sisters.
I mean, that's not an easy thing to do, is sit in a room with the person that actually pulled the trigger. She said that she felt really guilty for killing our father and that she was really sorry. I remember that.
She thought she was agreeing to kill an evil man. I feel really bad for her. I could really relate with the fact that she was a victim here too.
The twins say that for them, the sincere moment of forgiveness helped them begin their long process of healing. Now, 20 years after the trial, their sisterly bond only became stronger.
I have Kristina. Like, Kristina's my strength. We don't live close to each other, but any chance we can get to go visit each other, we will.
The twins are now 42 years old. Jennifer has a good job, which she enjoys, and spends her time focusing on her mental health. Kristina got married and is a loving mother of 2 children. She is proud to give her kids the life, attention, love, and nurturing she never received growing up.
I'm being the mom that I wanted.
They get to do life like I wish I got to.
Celeste never expected that her downfall would come from her own daughters. And even though it took years for Jennifer and Kristina to heal from the wounds created by their mom, they show that their love for each other is stronger than their mother's hatred. Living their best lives, spending quality time together with their loving families is their best revenge. They're
Don't
living
put it
proof
in
that
chat.
even after
Don't do that to
tragedy,
yourself.
there's a life worth living.
In loving memory of Stephen Beard. Right? I kind of feel unsatisfied with the details. It's a great
Yeah, I mean, to me, I feel like it's suspicious that no one heard the gunshot. You know,
just one. Like I said, you look around and go, did I just hear a gunshot? No, probably not, right?
but he also calls and says, I have pain. So did he know she did it and was covering for her? You could only assume. But yeah.
Too hot. Do you want the AC on?
No, I'm good. Love you.
Hello, Mississippi.
She shut the door. I'm sitting in her bedroom because it was so hot. I'm like, I'm going to put the AC on. But
overheard the three.
Sorry.
No, you're good. No, you're good. Go.
The next video. All right. Let me do this bit first before we go any further, because I'll forget if I don't. This is from Pandox. All these links are in the description if you're interested in such things. I try to keep them pinned to the top while we're actually watching them. So anybody wants to go check these out can. This dude has a whole bunch of really good stuff. Like, it's not just a spattering like a few of the other channels that I frequent. But this is The Vanishing Triangle, Ireland's unknown serial killer or killers. Right? Now, this is a really long video. We may not go through the whole thing, but we're at least going to give him a shot at trying to entrance me. Maybe he's got the gift of blinding. We'll see.
The accent could draw you in pretty good if there's an accent.
What if he's not Irish?
Well, that's interesting.
I like the aesthetic.
For 3 decades, a chilling mystery has festered on the east coast of Ireland. More than 10 disappearances and murders of young women have gone underpublicized and unsolved. Women who vanished from bus stops, sidewalks, and driveways, seemingly without a trace. Many have never been recovered. Similarities in victimology and location led investigators to theorize about one or more serial killers. The hunting ground became known as the Vanishing Triangle, and while renewed interest has unearthed new evidence, these cases remain unsolved. Within the green vales and rolling hills of the Emerald Isle, a dark secret remains. What happened to the women within the Vanishing Triangle, and who was responsible for their disappearance?
Hey, Whiskey Uncensored. Welcome in, bud. Good to see you. The Wonton Wiki, Asian Baka.
The cases officially attributed to the Vanishing Triangle began in 1993 and continued.
All right. For the newcomers to the channel that haven't gone to check my about information, if you go look, it tells you straight up that I found a phone in the woods and I set up this whole persona to do business and interview people like Wandering Hippie. And I bought a house in the suburbs, moved in, and that's why nobody can find Sasquatches. We're actually living in the suburbs like everybody else. I use a people filter so that you can see my face and it looks people. Right? You hip? All right. Rolling with it.
Through the decade. However, many have speculated about earlier cases that share similar methodology, geography, and victimology, stretching as far back as the late 1970s. The following cases have speculative connection to the official disappearances, and they are profiled here with the hopes of providing a more comprehensive picture of the culture, the country, and the unidentified criminal or criminals responsible. 23-year-old Phyllis Murphy was shopping for presents a few days ahead of Christmas in 1979. She was a factory worker at Kura Knitwear, and that night she was shopping for gifts for her 9 brothers and sisters. She was last seen at a bus stop in Newbridge, 40 minutes southwest of Dublin. She was reported missing later that night when she failed to meet her friend to attend a dance party. It was one of the coldest winters in Kildare County. In spite of the cold, over 3,000 locals volunteered to participate in the search effort. Some of the gifts she had been carrying were later located in a nearby plane. On New Year's Day, Murphy was recovered off the Sally gas.
Wait. I'm thinking a flat place in the
Right. Yeah, like a grassy knoll, a plane. Yeah, I was like, wait, what?
Not an airplane, I hope. Dear God, I hope that would make this much, much stranger than I thought it was going to be. Okay. All right. Let's see. All right.
Gap, a small 2-lane road that cuts through the rolling scenery of the Wicklow Mountains. While the frigid temperatures and snow had hindered search efforts, they had also preserved soft tissue and DNA evidence. Her injuries indicated an assault, attack, and strangulation. Her body had been stripped, and she had over 25 bruises and abrasions on her upper torso. Despite media attention and thorough investigation, the case ran cold and stayed cold for 23 years. In 2002, a cold case investigator ran DNA from the scene against samples that had been willingly taken from local men. This led to the eventual arrest and conviction of former Army Sergeant John Crerar. Crerar's potential involvement in additional disappearances will be discussed later. Justice may have been found on behalf of Phyllis Murphy, but she was just the first of many cases unofficially connected to the Vanishing Triangle. Antoinette Smith was a 27-year-old mother of 2. She had arranged for her 2 children to stay the night with her ex-husband Carl Smith while she attended a David Bowie concert on July 12, 1987. She went with a friend, and afterward the 2 took a bus to Dublin and arrived around 11 p.m. And the 4 stayed until just after 2 a.m. Outside the club, Smith and her friend had a small spat. Before leaving, the friend offered a key to her apartment so Smith could stay over. The 2 men left shortly after, hailing a cab nearby. They watched Smith walk in the direction of the O'Connell Bridge, dressed in blue jeans and a Bowie shirt she had purchased from the concert. This was the last time she would be seen alive. A few days later, Carl Smith reported her missing to officials. Despite the media attention and high-profile investigation, officials failed to turn up any leads. On April 3, 1988, a young family discovered Smith's remains in the Wicklow Mountains. The area was isolated, and prolonged exposure had eliminated most of the evidence. The medical examiner believes that Smith likely passed due to asphyxiation, as she had been recovered with 2 plastic bags over her head. She was identified by her deteriorating.
Just out of the box, having no other information. That sounds very serial killer-ish.
Yeah, we don't know how far he brought, but yeah, I mean.
From at least a plane where the stuff was dropped off to the mountains where her body was found wrapped in a couple of plastic bags.
Wow.
That sounds a little serial killer-ish with no other information. Just that. If I found one body, I would turn and look at the cops immediately and say, have you ever found any others like this? Because I bet you have. I'm certain of it. So, like, I want to see where he's hunting, and then I'll decide whether I'm moving. Right?
Yeah.
Rating Bowie shirt and a metal key in her pocket that matched the lock of her friend's apartment. Upon the discovery of her remains, The case received renewed media attention, and with the extra exposure, a taxi driver came forward as the first witness. He recounted that he was hailed down by two men and a woman in a Bowie shirt near the O'Connell Bridge around the time of her disappearance. He overheard the three passengers discuss meeting at a fast food restaurant, and they planned to attend a house party in the foothills of the Wicklow Mountains. A second witness came forward who described walking his dogs on the morning of July 12th, just 2 miles away from where Smith's remains were recovered.
All right, bud, listen. I've been cow tipping. I've never been chicken tipping. You're going to have to explain that one to me, and please use small one-syllable words if possible.
I've never even heard. I've heard of cow tipping. My buddies in Britain say they do it quite often, but I've never heard of chicken tipping.
Somehow I just don't see it. Where you sneak into the coop and push them off for this stand.
Right. Yeah, as soon as you go near the pen, they start clucking and going. If there's a rooster in there, he's coming to fuck you up.
Get eggs. You tip the chicken up and reach under them to get the eggs. That makes freaking sense. All right, dude, I appreciate that. Thank you, because we were fixing to have a lot of fun with that.
He encountered a man descending the path who appeared to be wearing dark clothes that were not suitable for the area or the weather. The unidentified man passed the witness and met with a second in the car park. The witness described feeling uneasy before retreating to his vehicle and leaving the area. Both witnesses described the suspects as men in their early 20s. One was talkative with a thin face and hair parted in the middle. The other was a taller man who was quiet. No additional information has been released to the public. 4 years after the disappearance of Antoinette Smith, on December 23, 1991, Patricia Doherty vanished. She was a prison officer and mother of two, preparing for Christmas just a few days in advance. She got her hair cut, purchased gifts at a nearby shopping center, and returned home in South Dublin shortly before 9 p.m. However, upon returning home, she realized she had forgotten one small thing: Santa hats for her children to wear during the holiday season. She left home, headed for the same shopping center, only she never returned. Her husband, Patrick, didn't report her missing until Christmas Day, thinking that she had been called in to work. During the investigation, one witness reported seeing Doherty in the parking lot outside her intended destination. A second witness with a criminal background reported that Doherty entered a red vehicle outside of Bridget Burke's pub, which shared a parking lot with the nearby shopping center. Her husband made appeals on radio programs, urging anyone to come forward with additional information. During this time, he claimed to receive several phone calls at his home, the caller remaining eerily silent until finally disconnecting. Doherty remained missing until the summer of 1992. A groundskeeper cutting turf in the Wicklow Mountains unearthed a hand and forearm less than a mile from where Antoinette Smith's remains had been recovered. A search of the surrounding bog uncovered some of Doherty's possessions, including the golden headscarf she had worn that night. The medical examiner identified Doherty through dental records, personal effects, and her house key, which remained.
So that was something I was covering with some people in chat the other night. They were talking about the best way to dispose of a body and whatnot. And people brought up, citric acid, sulfuric acid, muriatic acid, lime, really deep holes, all kinds of other stuff, pigs, of course, pigs. And
they don't eat the teeth though. So you're still stuck with that.
You got to shave the head and pull the teeth for the sake of the piggy's digestion.
My understanding is even when you put them in the acid, the teeth don't go.
No, the teeth are hard to deal with. So the suggestion that I was given just out of the blue that I was unasked.
Not that you would ever.
Right. You pull the teeth out, put them on something hard and shatter them. Just each individual tooth, just hammer them, sweep all the pieces up and burn them. That way the DNA is ruined and you can't get a dental match either. Everything else you can pretty much dissolve. Allegedly.
Right. Mrs. Hippie in the background there.
I saw that.
I see her legs.
Don't hate me because I'm beautiful. Hate me because I'm hitting on your wife.
It was determined that she had been strangled. No suspects have ever been named in this case. Some believed these cases were unconnected, only coincidentally sharing some similarities. They feared.
Hold on. Nah, she's got a point. You buried under an endangered plant, that thing might be 150 years before it gets dug up.
Wow.
That's
good thinking.
That's clever.
Yeah.
Rude, clever. You might want to check your yard for some bodies. just saying. Right? Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Yeah, you crushed the teeth with a hammer, or allegedly.
Crush the teeth with a hammer.
Against women simply went under-investigated as a result of the social and political climate of Ireland at the time, and a fearful public was drawing connections where there were none. Others were terrified that the same perpetrator or perpetrators had committed these crimes, that they were still free, stalking the countryside for their next victim. In 1993, these fears were catapulted to an international stage with the disappearance of an American woman from Dublin, marking the official beginning of the Vanishing Triangle.
Okay, so what the hell was the rest of this shit? We just went through 3 freaking cases that don't have shit to do with this story. I'm a little confused.
Yeah, so far nothing's tying together. There's no motive. There's no same method.
Well, there might be a same method. With her possessions were never found with the second one. So the first one, the possessions were found outside of town, but her body was found way, way far in. The second one, her possessions were never found, but her body was found, not too far out.
And then this one here, the body was found, and then the possessions were in the lake.
Right. So, all right. So the separating of possessions seems to be a primary feature here. Maybe wonder if they have their IDs. Serial killers often take a token. IDs is a good way to take a token.
Yeah, I was going to say, unless you like the items. I mean, I'm not going to give away your nice knife and watch after I kill you if I like your nice watch and knife.
I don't know, dude.
On the morning of March 26, 1993, Annie McCarrick was knitting in her apartment in Sandy Mount, a coastal suburb.
Entertain the masses.
Me? Hi, everybody. What's up, Dennis Boyles? Sunshine? Snark and Sass? John Denicola. What's up, my brother? I'm already mad, but I don't get angry. Go Snark. Let's see here. John Denicola. What's up, Johnny? Who else? I just can't read chat. Make stupid people famous. What's up, brother? How are you?
What did you tell them?
I was talking nothing about you the whole time.
Me, it better be me. If there's anything more important than my ego in this room, I want it hunted down and shot immediately.
Suburb of Dublin. Her 2 housemates left to spend time in their countryside homes before midday, and McCarrick was alone. She was originally from Long Island, studying abroad in Ireland in the late 1980s, and she had decided to move there permanently in early 1993. She was 26 years old, a waitress at a local restaurant, and she was planning on becoming a teacher. She had plans to hike with a friend in the Wicklow Mountains that weekend. However,
that's
her friend
hilarious.
had injured her leg and canceled last minute. McCarrick left to run errands around 11 a.m., stopping at her bank before purchasing groceries. She returned home at 3 p.m., but she was spotted leaving her home shortly after at 3:15. When her housemates returned, they found that she had not unpacked her groceries, which was unusual behavior for McCarrick. She was seen shortly after by a local fast food shop owner, headed toward the bus stop at New Grove Avenue. There, she took the number 18 bus, transferred to the number 44, which would take her to the foothills of the Wicklow Mountains. She was seen waiting at the bus stop for the number 44 bus by a former coworker. According to the bus routes, McCarrick would have arrived.
Bro, are you ever just like deeply creeped out by your chat? Mine creep me out regularly. Like I'll look over and they'll be talking about the most dark, demented crap on earth, and I'm like, why? I don't get it.
It's fun. It's a great way to, get out of reality, right? And get online and get out of your normal routine and your normal actions. And
Lord Puff. Have you ever heard of the British Columbian Highway of Tears?
No, it doesn't sound familiar.
It's not just one specific highway. It's more like a trucking route, right? There's like a whole batch of, it's a huge thing. But there have been an unbelievable number of disappearances, almost all women, not quite all women, but a whole bunch of them. Something like 220, 300 women have gone missing along this particular route. And me and my brother used to do these CIS type write-ups on different crimes. We'd look at the crimes and what was available and try to do like a unsub evaluation to determine who did it. Anyway, or what type of person may have done such things. And without telling my brother, when I gave him the information, I told him that there is a single unifying detail in all of these cases. But these are all the cases I found, and I don't know if they're actually associated, but these are the cases with the unifying detail. And he was like, okay. And he looked at it, calls me back a couple of weeks later, and he's like, I think you've got 6 different people operating. And he had broken all the victims down into little things where each group had multiple things that linked
matched up.
Right. Like, and I can't disagree with him, but I think there might be more people. I think it's 6 groups. Because there's one case in particular that fit in 3 different categories. There was a family of an entire family, wife, husband, dog, kids, and they all disappeared just completely. But then they found the kid, like the youngest one, the like 8-year-old, was 2 miles into the woods and hiding in a tree, and he wouldn't come down even after the cops showed up. They had to like bring a lift in to come get him down because they had to physically take him out of that tree. And as I understand it, he never recovered. He never testified. He never told anybody anything. He died like in the mid-80s or something. I'm gonna have to go dig that stuff up. That'd make a hell of a show. That'd probably be a better show than the one y'all are watching. My bad. I didn't think about it.
Arrived at Enniskerry, just outside the Wicklow Mountains at 5 p.m., which was late for a countryside hike. Strangely, there was no surveillance footage of McCarrick in the area. However, a security guard at Johnny Fox's pub claimed that he saw McCarrick enter the pub with a man who was 5'9" in his mid to late 20s. He claimed the man was athletic with dark hair, and he was wearing a wax jacket. Another security guard at Johnny Fox's also claimed to have seen McCarrick the night of her disappearance. Johnny Fox's was almost 4 miles from her bus stop. This would have been a long walk for McCarrick. Some of her friends arrived at her apartment on Saturday for a planned dinner, but she was nowhere to be found. Her mother arrived on March 30th for a planned trip. When she discovered that her daughter had not been seen for several days, she reported McCarrick missing to the authorities. Investigators believe that McCarrick was at the Johnny Fox's pub. In 2008, they publicly announced they had investigated 2 suspects who were local residents. These men were never publicly named, and they have no criminal background. One of the central investigators proposed an alternative theory in recent years. With solid intelligence, this investigator believes a
No, that's the line. That's the limit right there. What the fuck is wrong with y'all? What the fuck is wrong? I just don't. Barbecued? I mean, I get the joke. Delicious long pork. I'm with it. Like, okay, but one at a time is a hobby, not a government conspiracy. What? Okay, all right. Fine, whatever. Y'all have fun. Y'all enjoy it. Words.
A former IRA member was in the area at the time, and he was believed to be at Johnny Fox's pub. The investigator theorizes that the IRA member tried to impress McCarrick with tales of his exploits. When he drunkenly overindulged, he eliminated McCarrick to cover his tracks and then called his former handlers to cover up the evidence. The disappearance of Annie McCarrick remains an open investigation. No additional information has been released to the public. Ava Brennan vanished just 3 short months after the disappearance of Annie McCarrick. She was a 39-year-old woman who lived in the South Dublin suburb of Rathgar, and she came from a...
So tell me, hippie, what do you do on your time off when you're not busy doing the YouTube? I kill people. It just lets me blow all the steam.
Makes me feel much better about myself.
It just allows you to relax.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
Local family with 7 other siblings. It was Sunday, July 25th, 1993. When Brennan walked to her parents' home after attending Mass at a local church. She visited her family almost every day, and on that day she had had a small argument with a sibling, which resulted in her leaving before dinner was served. This was the last time that Brennan was seen. The route home included several busy roads, rife with pubs and restaurants. Her father, Davy, was a local business owner, and the Brennan family was well known within the community. However, there were no confirmed sightings of Brennan along this route.
Hello,
her family didn't hear from her Monday or Tuesday, and when her father called, he received no answer. He broke into her apartment and noted that everything looked untouched. He reported her missing that evening. Initially, investigators took her father's report to mean that Brennan had not returned home after the argument with her parents. In addition, they could not find her purse or car keys in the apartment. The family later found the coat she had been wearing in the closet, which suggested Brennan had returned to her home before leaving again. The family reported that investigators seemed unconcerned by Brennan's disappearance. At first, officials told her family that they believed no crime had occurred. When they were told of Brennan's recurring depression, they proposed that she had disappeared of her own volition. Her father was a connected man who urged authorities through all channels, and after a month, investigators seemed to be taking Brennan's disappearance seriously. They conducted a forensic analysis of her home, but family members had cleaned and tidied the apartment since her disappearance. As a result, no new evidence was uncovered, and no new information has been released. Less than 6 months later, Imelda Keenan disappeared 2 hours south of Dublin in Waterford City. She was a 28-year-old woman who lived with her partner.
You reckon? You reckon she just didn't leave it? I mean, if it was found. Maybe. I mean, is that more or less likely than the killer retraced his steps to put the coat back? I don't know.
Partner, Mark Wall. She had 9 siblings, and she was studying computer science at the Central Technical Institute. She had plans to go home for Christmas, catching a train with her brother Ned on December 23rd. She canceled last minute and told him that she would catch a later train. Keenan did not like traveling alone, and she never arrived home for Christmas. On January 3rd, she was celebrating the prolonged academic holiday between Christmas and New Year's. After 1 p.m., she left her apartment to collect a welfare check from the post office and never returned. Again, investigators failed to forensically analyze the apartment. One of the detectives would later write about the case in his book, claiming that her partner didn't report her missing and told police that she had said she was very depressed before leaving the house. Her family had searched the apartment and found her glasses, cigarettes, handbag, and unopened Christmas presents. An unconfirmed witness sighting from a secretary claims to have seen Keenan rounding the corner onto Lombard Street near Tower Hotel. No additional information has been released. Her family has constructed a memorial plaque at this corner to keep her memory alive. JoJo Dullard grew up in Callan. She moved to...
Can we all agree that that is an unfortunate name?
Yeah.
I mean, there's no way this kid's coming through school. Male, female, I don't give a damn. She could be a genius. She'll still be known as a dullard.
That's probably what they called her, right? Hey, Dullard.
Yeah, right.
You know, instead of JoJo. Because kids are mean in school, right?
We used to have this kid whose name, and I'm not joking. I cannot remember the kid's name. The only name I ever heard him called was Eben. But Eben means son of. There was words before and words after, but I cannot remember what they were. Everyone just called him Eben. Racists, right?
To Dublin to study at a beautician school, and she waitressed to make ends meet. However, she found she was short on time and money. She dropped out and began waitressing full-time for a few years before moving back to Callan with a friend. On November 9th, she took a bus back to Dublin to pick up a social welfare check from a post office, just 3 miles from where Annie McCarrick vanished. She collected her check, but she was stranded in the city until 6 p.m. when the returning bus to Kilkenny departed. She visited Bruxelles pub, a favorite haunt of hers, hoping to run into friends. There, she encountered her ex-boyfriend at 2:30 p.m., and the two breathed life into their old flame. Dullard had planned to stay the night with her ex, but his current girlfriend found the two in an argument.
John, you're going straight to hell. Save me a seat.
Great stripper name.
What's your name, honey? My name's JoJo Dullard. How you doing? Oh, I'm doing much better now, sweetie.
Yeah. About to fall asleep now. Have a
The
cigarette.
couple left shortly after, and Dullard found herself stranded in Dublin as her 6 p.m. bus had already departed. Rather than stay the night with friends, she took a bus to the town of Nass, still 65 miles away from Callan, her intended destination. It was the only one headed in her direction, and she arrived around 10 p.m. The bus driver stated that he had to wake her at the end of the line, and the town itself had already shuttered up for the night. From here, she hitchhiked. She was first picked up by an elderly man, then a younger one. However, she had only traveled as far as Moon, still 40 miles away from her home. She stopped at a phone booth and called her friend Mary Cullinane while still attempting to hitch a ride. On the phone, she told her friend about her hitchhiking route and the day's events. She cut the call short, claiming a driver had stopped. This call would be the last confirmed contact with JoJo Dullard. The next day, her manager called Dullard's mother at 6 p.m., reporting that she hadn't arrived for her shift.
Make stupid people famous, bro. You're on your own with that one.
That evening, her mother reported her missing. On Saturday, the family had a locksmith open the doors to her apartment and bedroom. They uncovered no missing
right.
clothes or possession.
You're right. He does sound a lot like Lackluster. Let's see. An analytical YouTube channel that explores the mysterious, horrific, and paranormal. Videos include analysis of national park disappearances, declassified government documents, reported paranormal sightings, and more. Yeah, that's wait, was it him or Audit the Audit that did the no, that's Lackluster. Lackluster does the odd side, right? He also has is it Somewhere Sinister? I think that's the other channel. But yeah.
Disappearance. He overheard the 3 passengers discuss meeting at a fast food restaurant, and they planned to attend a house party in the foothills of the Wicklow Mountains. A second witness came forward who described walking his dogs on the morning of July 12th, just 2 miles away from where Smith's remains were recovered. He encountered a man descending the path who appeared to be wearing dark clothes that were not suitable for the area or the weather. The unidentified man passed the witness and met with a second in the car park. The witness described feeling uneasy before retreating to his vehicle and leaving the area. Both witnesses described the suspects as men in their early 20s. One was talkative with a thin face and hair parted in the middle. The other was a taller man who was quiet. No additional information has been released to the public. 4 years after the disappearance of Antoinette Smith, on December 23, 1991, Patricia Doherty vanished. She was a prison officer and mother of 2, preparing for Christmas just a few days in advance. She got her hair cut, purchased gifts at a nearby shopping center, and returned home in South Dublin shortly before 9 p.m. However, upon returning home, she realized she had forgotten one small thing: Santa hats for her children to wear during the holiday season. She left home, headed for the same shopping center, only she never returned. Her husband, Patrick, didn't report her missing until Christmas Day, thinking that she had been called into work. During the investigation, one witness reported seeing Doherty in the parking lot outside her intended destination. A second witness with a criminal background reported that Doherty entered a red vehicle outside of Bridget Burke's pub, which shared a parking lot with the nearby shopping center. Her husband made appeals on radio programs, urging anyone to come forward with additional information. During this time, he claimed to receive several phone calls at his home, the caller remaining eerily silent until finally disconnecting. Doherty remained missing until the summer of 1992. A groundskeeper cutting turf in the Wicklow Mountains unearthed a hand and forearm less than a mile from where Antoinette Smith's remains had been recovered. A search of the surrounding bog uncovered some of Doherty's possessions, including the golden headscarf she had worn that night. The medical examiner identified Doherty through dental records, personal effects, and her house key, which remained on the body. It was determined that she had been strangled. No suspects have ever been named in this case. Some believed the...
All right, so yeah, no, I was fixing to say that, John. That was exactly what I was fixing to say. The single element that seems to connect all of these, all of the ones they found at least, are that they were abducted somewhere urban, semi-urban, and disposed of somewhere in the mountains or highlands.
Kind of makes you think of those weird movies on like Netflix, like Hunt, where they release a person into the woods and leave their hands tied and say run, and then finally they kill them, and wherever they kill them, they just dispose of the body. Crazy.
I don't know, man. I mean,
it doesn't really give us much description of what they did, what he did to the bodies. I mean, he cut them up, but it doesn't really say.
I'm pretty sure it's open investigations, which means they're not releasing half the information.
Okay, I got you.
This is a supposedly unnamed number that could be 3 or 4. It could be one
group
guy.
Of people.
That they're not necessarily a group, but they're operating in the same area and largely using the same MO.
I seen a cool Criminal Minds once where there was a group of people and the premise was they would hide a box somewhere. And then people would like somehow be nominated and they would have to go dig up the box, find it, and then use what was in the box to, do away with the target. Pretty rad thought. People that think that kind of shit.
Oh my, what kind of twisted shit are you into, dude? Or don't encourage them. Don't encourage them.
Honest question, if a chicken doing a pole dance. Wait, what?
I'm hungry. Why are you people talking so much about chickens? What is wrong?
These cases were unconnected, only coincidentally sharing some similarities. They theorized that these crimes against women simply went under-investigated as a result of the social and political climate of Ireland at the time.
No. Here's the issue. It's not the mountains that are getting them. They're getting picked up in town in places, like just randomly, like outside of a bowling alley, outside of a fast food restaurant,
Well, I mean, I guess if you could put yourself in a killer's head, I mean, the mountains would be the perfect place to kill someone. What are the chances anyone's going to hear it, see it, find the body, blah, 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 right? Kind of makes sense. I think you have multiple people killing, all involved, each with certain desires on the dismembering of the victim. That's up and personal, man. That's definitely somebody deep in. One thing to just stab or shoot somebody, another thing to cut them up into pieces.
No, there's a little more to it than that, because at least one of the victims had their belongings removed, discarded in a different location, and were then carted away elsewhere and then murdered. They were definitely murdered at the location the body was found, whereas the rest of them, nobody has any clue where they were murdered, but the bodies were found here, and most of their belongings are found either in water or near water so far. Although I understand why he distinguished between the earlier cases versus these newer cases, it's because they don't have verifiable evidence from pre-1970 whatever, right?
Okay.
Anything earlier than that is kind of sketchy. So they existed, they're in the paper, this is the information we've got, but it's not corroborated by anything current. What's up, Daryl Williams?
Daryl.
I don't know.
And a fearful public was drawing connections where there were none. Others were terrified that the same perpetrator or perpetrators had committed these crimes, that they were still free, stalking the countryside for their next victim. In 1993, these fears were catapulted to an international stage with the disappearance of an American woman from Dublin, marking the official beginning of the Vanishing Triangle. On the morning of March 26, 1993, Annie McCarrick was knitting in her apartment in Sandymount, a coastal suburb of Dublin. Her two housemates left to spend time in their countryside homes before midday, and McCarrick was alone. She was originally from Long Island, studying abroad in Ireland in the late 1980s, and she had decided to move there permanently in early 1993. She was 26 years old, a waitress at a local restaurant, and she was planning on becoming a teacher. She had plans to hike with a friend in the Wicklow Mountains that weekend. However, her friend had injured her leg and canceled last minute. McCarrick left to run errands around 11 a.m., stopping at her bank before purchasing groceries. She returned home at 3 p.m., but she was spotted leaving her home shortly after at 3:15. When her housemates returned, they found that she had not unpacked her groceries, which was unusual behavior for McCarrick. She was seen shortly after by a local fast food shop owner, headed toward the bus stop at New Grove Avenue. There, she took the number 18 bus, transferred to the number 44, which would take her to the foothills of the Wicklow Mountains. She was seen waiting at the bus stop for the number 44 bus by a former coworker. According to the bus routes, McCarrick would have arrived at Enniskerry, just outside the Wicklow Mountains at 5 p.m., which was late for a countryside hike. Strangely, there was no surveillance footage of McCarrick in the area. However, a security guard at Johnny Fox's pub claimed that he saw McCarrick enter the pub with a man who was 5'9" in his mid to late 20s. He claimed the man was athletic with dark hair, and he was wearing a wax jacket. Another security guard at Johnny Fox's also claimed to have seen McCarrick the night of her disappearance. Johnny Fox's was almost 4 miles from her bus stop. This would have been a long walk for McCarrick. Some of her friends arrived at her apartment on Saturday for a planned dinner, but she was nowhere to be found. Her mother arrived on March 30th for a planned trip. When she discovered that her daughter had not been seen for several days, she reported McCarrick missing to the authorities. Investigators believe that McCarrick was at the Johnny Fox's pub. In 2008, they publicly announced they had investigated 2 suspects who were local residents. These men were never publicly named, and they have no criminal background. One of the central investigators proposed an alternative theory in recent years. With solid intelligence, this investigator believes a former IRA member was in the area at the time, and he was believed to be at Johnny Fox's pub. The investigator theorizes that the IRA member tried to impress McCarrick with tales of his exploits. When he drunkenly overindulged, he eliminated McCarrick to cover his tracks and then called his former handlers to cover up the evidence. The disappearance of Annie McCarrick remains an open investigation. No additional information has been released to the public. Ava Brennan vanished just 3 short months after the disappearance of Annie McCarrick. She was a third.
Wait a second. All right. This isn't what it looks like at all. This isn't a serial killer operating. This is a selection of bodies. There is not a single male included in any of this because the people selecting the cases have specifically selected things that match up as being the same person. However, if it was an organization instead of a person, the MOs would seem to be similar as well. But if they excluded males that were found in the same way, then they've already tipped the selection of cases, right? Because there are no males in the list, you can't look at any of the males that disappeared and maybe were found dead asphyxiated on the side of the mountain up there. That's one bias. 2, if this was an organization doing it and they killed, say, a couple, right? Say it was some SAS operation or a CIA operation or anything like that, this would be a good way to cover their tracks because it would be picked up as a local serial killer and not as a political strike. I need to shut up now before they get me black bagged. I have no idea. I'm just talking, and I don't know. Don't turn me in. Stop snitching. Sup, truth be told. Welcome to the show, bud. Good to see you. Hope you out there upholding the peace, keeping them all accountable.
39-year-old woman who lived in the South Dublin suburb of Rathgar, and she came from a local family with 7 other siblings. It was Sunday, July 25th, 1993, when Brennan walked to her parents' home after attending Mass at a local church.
Wait a second.
She visited her.
Did we already listen to these 2, or are they just identical to previous things? I mean,
yeah, I mean, it sounds. We did listen to some before we started the show, so I'm kind of a little confused myself.
Yeah, no, we did. That might be what we got going on.
Yeah, I think that's what's going on.
Okay, right.
Her family almost every day, and on that day she had a small argument with a sibling, which resulted in her leaving before dinner was served. This was the last time that Brennan was seen. The route home included several busy roads rife with pubs and restaurants. Her father, Davy, was a local business owner, and the Brennan family.
All right, so here's another repeating scene that's happening. These people aren't being taken from lonely places. They're being taken right off the freaking strip, and the folks are going with whoever.
Very brazen, no fear.
Which leads me to believe it's more of an operation than it is an individual.
Or if you got something good to offer, right? I mean, hey, let's do some blow, let's party, let's get fucked up. You know?
You sound like you're speaking from experience here, Mr. There, Hypnosis.
Well, I watch a lot of these shows, to be fair.
I think you're right on it, man. I think either this is drug related or it's if it's a single dude, man, he is proliferous as hell. We're still in 93 and this goes through up to like 2010 or something.
Family was well known within the community. However, there were no confirmed sightings of Brennan along this route. Her family didn't hear from her Monday or Tuesday, and when her father called, he received no answer. He broke into her apartment and noted that everything looked untouched. He reported her missing that evening. Initially, investigators took her father's report to mean that Brennan had not returned home after the argument with her parents. In addition, they could not find her purse or car keys in the apartment. Good to see you. The family later found the coat she had been wearing in the closet, which suggested Brennan had returned to her home before leaving again. The family reported that investigators seemed unconcerned by Brennan's disappearance. At first, officials told her family that they believed no crime had occurred. When they were told of Brennan's recurring depression, they proposed that she had disappeared of her own volition. Her father was a connected man who urged authorities through all channels, and after a month, investigators seemed to be taking Brennan's disappearance seriously. They conducted a forensic analysis of her home, but family members had cleaned and tidied the apartment since her disappearance. As a result, no new evidence was uncovered, and no new information has been released. Less than 6 months later, Imelda Keenan disappeared 2 hours south.
Okay, so the thing that seems to really tie these specific cases together is specifically the area they were found in relation to the areas they were taken from. The Vanishing Triangle is the 3 counties or villages or whatever they're being taken from, and the body dump seems to be a relatively smallish area. Kind of like the body fields outside of Atlanta. I think I did a show on that a while back.
Yeah, I mean,
no, I don't.
Yeah, you want to have some peace and quiet while you're doing your work. You know, you don't want to have some people interrupting, my friend.
I guess you're right. You gotta pack them up, take them out of town.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm with it. Get you a good
person might be screaming, or you know, maybe you don't have any rope or tape, or you don't like the. I don't know.
I haven't heard anything about any type of bindings or whatnot. They haven't said a single word about how they were subdued, how they were abducted, how they were removed.
Well, you said this is an ongoing investigation, right? So probably, yeah. They don't want to give any specifics away that might help somebody get away with it if they get caught.
One thing that's also repeated often in all of this was they're not taken from like locations where they're alone. They're not only taken from like their home, parking lots, busy streets and stuff. They are witnessed between the point in time they disappear and the point in time their body is found elsewhere with other people.
John says, see, the police are dragging their feet.
Yeah, no, he's not wrong. Something's up over here and they need to check it out.
South of Dublin in Waterford City. She was a 28-year-old woman who lived with her partner, Mark Wall. She had 9 siblings and she was studying computer science at the Central Technical Institute. She had plans to go home for Christmas, catching.
Another thing, every single one of these victims have like huge families. Are they all like Irish Catholic types, you reckon? This could be a priest, somebody that they would trust.
Small
They would-
country, maybe everybody's related in one way or another.
What? That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying if they're Irish Catholic, then they would all go to Catholic churches. They're very, very devout people, which means if they came across a priest in public, they might be willing to walk away with them, not realizing it was the last thing they were doing.
Good question. Or good explanation, I should
Or
say.
is it that they're too old? All the girls were adults. That's probably not them. It wasn't.
I mean,
underage.
he could have been really good looking.
Oh wow, or Buff supports that idea. Okay.
Catching a train with her brother Ned on December 23rd, she canceled.
No, not a congregation. I'm talking about Irish Catholic priesthoods where they share certain aspects of their diocese. They you'll have 2 or 3 different priests that operate in a county, or maybe in 3 counties, or in a certain cycle, and he hits 5 or 10 churches over the course of, I can't remember what it's called. There's actually a word for that crap. And he basically just goes around and does like one Sunday every 2 months or whatever. He does a little thing. But I'm thinking somebody that's recognizable enough that every single one of these girls went, okay, Father, well, let's go ahead and get you home. We'll take you right home. All right. And they climbed in his car. And that's the last thing anybody ever saw him. Or just walked down an alleyway. I mean, a decently sized guy carry away everyone. Another feature, these girls are all small girls. They're adults, but they're slight. You are muted. You have muted.
Is that taste, or is that just ease of getting rid of, you know? Like, is that taste and he likes smaller girls, or is it just easier to get rid of them because they're small?
I think they're easier to manage. I think he's a fairly big guy, and he uses his ability to overpower them to make them comply. The ability to just put them down. What you think? I like it. I think it tastes good.
Canceled last minute and told him that she would catch a later train. Keenan did not like traveling alone, and she never arrived home for Christmas. On January 3rd, she was celebrating the prolonged academic holiday between Christmas and New Year's. After 1 p.m., she left her apartment to collect a welfare check from the post office and never returned. Again, investigators failed to forensically analyze the.
Stay away from the post offices in Ireland, man. The place is dangerous. Apparently, your ass end up naked in the mountains.
Apartment. One of the detectives would later write about the case in his book, claiming that her partner didn't report her missing and told police that she had said she was very depressed before leaving the house. Her family had searched the apartment and found her glasses, cigarettes, handbag, and unopened Christmas presents. An unconfirmed witness.
What's up, Broken System, Broken Trust?
What's up, Broken?
He came in the last stream, I think, or maybe the one before. But I lurk a lot of your streams, dude.
I'm scared of post offices myself. I've had some bad experiences in there.
Right? They seem dangerous, especially in Ireland.
I'm going with they're dangerous.
Yeah, makes sense.
Sighting from a secretary claims to have seen Keenan rounding the corner onto Lombard Street near Tower Hotel. No additional information has been released. Her family has constructed a memorial plaque at this corner to keep her memory alive. Jojo Dullard grew up in Callan. She moved to Dublin to study at a beautician.
That's what she said. Never done a post office.
And she waitressed to make ends meet. However, she found she was short on time and money. She dropped out and began waitressing full-time for a few years before moving back to Callan with a friend. On November 9th, she took a bus back to Dublin to pick up a social welfare check from a post office, just 3 miles from where Annie McCarrick vanished. She collected her check, but she was stranded in the city until 6 p.m. when the returning bus to Kilkenny departed. She visited Bruxelles pub, a favorite haunt of hers, hoping to run into friends. There, she encountered her ex-boyfriend at 2:30 p.m., and the two breathed life into their old flame. Dullard had planned to stay the night with her ex, but his current girlfriend found the two and an argument broke out.
It's adding more detail each cycle, though. That is weird,
Right.
because we're back to JoJo again, somehow. Okay, I got some homeboy has put together a philosophy of YouTube video padding that is bar none. He has padded this video 16 times with the same 4 cases.
Right?
That's brilliant, dude.
Nah, brilliant is all these people today that are using AI to make their entire videos. I was watching a video today. It was a really good video, but truly was done with an AI. You could tell. Like all the writing, everything was just AI. Amazing. That's where we're at now.
There's terms of service to deal with that if they choose to do so. If YouTube lets it go, they let it go. I can't make them enforce terms of service. But I personally believe that AI is a channel straight to the nefarious evil of the universe, what we used to refer to as the unnamed spirits. I don't think there are ghost people walking around that are actually people. I think these are the nefarious beings the old religions tell you not to do truck with or
Yeah, I mean, how does it not make sense? They know way more than we do. They know we're the weak part of this planet by just looking at statistics and facts. Why wouldn't you want to get rid of us? It makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah, a surface nuisance. All right, we're gonna try this one more time. If it recycles again, we're definitely moving on to the next video. Deal?
Sure.
Deal? All right.
Yeah, I'm digging it. I mean,
Shortly after, and Dullard found herself stranded in Dublin as her.
What was you saying?
No, I said I'm digging it either way. It's good shit.
I mean,
Fun
yeah,
chat.
there's additional information in each cycle, but it's kind of weird that it's cycling this way. I thought it was more people.
Reminds me of the movie Twister.
Already departed. Rather than stay the night with friends, she took a bus to the town of Nass, still 65 miles away from Callan, her intended destination. It was the only one headed in her direction, and she arrived around 10 p.m. The bus driver stated that he had to wake her at the end of the line, and the town itself had already shuttered up for the night. From here, she hitchhiked. She was first picked up by an elderly man, then a younger one. However, she had only traveled as far as Moon, still 40 miles away from her home. She stopped at a phone booth and called her friend Mary Cullinane while still attempting to hitch a ride. On the phone, she told her friend about her hitchhiking route and the day's events. She cut the call short, claiming a driver had stopped. This call would be the last confirmed contact with JoJo Dullard. The next day, her manager called Dullard's mother at 6 p.m., reporting that she hadn't arrived for her shift. That evening, her mother reported her missing. On Saturday, the family had a locksmith open the doors to her apartment and bedroom. They uncovered no missing clothes or possessions. Little came from the initial investigation. The family claims that investigators disparaged Dullard's character, claiming she was drinking, using drugs, and promiscuous. Officials attempted to tarnish her reputation to dampen public scrutiny and media attention. In 1996, a senior investigator visited the family off the record and claimed that some officials knew the details of her murder and the disposal of her body. Several eyewitnesses came forward, but the reports could not be confirmed. A woman from Moon claimed to have seen Dullard exiting the phone booth and entering a dark-colored 4-door Toyota Carina. Dullard entered through the rear door, sitting in the back seat, which implied that the vehicle already had a second passenger. 4 miles south of Moon, a man in the village of Castle Dermot claimed to have seen a woman matching Dullard's description walking on the main street close to midnight. In 1994, a taxi driver came forward with an additional testimony. He had been driving 60 miles south of Moon outside Kilmacow when he claimed to have spotted a red Ford Sierra on the side of the road. He saw a woman bolt from the rear seat of the vehicle, running barefoot into the street. He said the woman appeared to be trying to escape. A second man emerged from the vehicle and pulled the woman back into the car with the help of the driver. In 2020, Dullard's disappearance was reclassified as a murder. Cold case investigators made renewed efforts, attempting to loosen any new information. They shared that Dullard had a Sanyo cassette player with her at the time of her disappearance, and they petitioned the public for any sighting in 1995. In 2021, her family held a Christian memorial service and burial, imparting their final goodbyes. About 60 miles to the west of Dublin, Fiona Pender worked as a hairdresser and model in Tullamore. She was 25 years old, sharing an apartment with...
Isn't this a new one?
It's a new one.
A legitimate new individual, yes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Her partner, John Thompson. They had lived in London and only just moved back to Ireland a year earlier. In the summer of 1996, she was an expecting mother 7 months into term with her first child. On August 22nd, she went shopping for baby clothes with her mother before returning to her childhood home. She visited with her family, talking with her father about an upcoming fishing trip, and around 7 p.m. she was ready to get home. She took a taxi, accompanied by her mother, and the two said goodbye outside Pender's apartment. On August 23rd, her mother returned for a planned visit. When she saw the blinds were pulled, she suspected Pender might be resting and decided to...
Hey, yeah, no, she might be right. That would do it. If it was a nun could get every single one of these girls into a car and away from the city without a fight.
Right?
That's a pretty good one. I like that.
Yeah, it could be somebody who's supposedly helps people get sober. Oh, because she was into drugs and blah blah blah. Right?
That's a pretty good one too.
And all of those kind of fit under your original premise of the priest, right? So priest, nun,
somebody
same
associated
thing.
with a church somewhere. Yeah.
Someone who seems innocent, right?
We haven't
Someone who
heard
seems-
how many brethren, sister, and this chick had. It didn't say she was from a huge family, did it?
No, not yet.
I didn't hear nothing about her family size, but I bet you she's Irish Catholic. I give you a diddly do to a damned if I know.
Later that day, her father walked by the apartment and saw the blinds were still closed and the lights were off. Both of her parents returned the next day, and their knocking and phone calls went unanswered. They called her partner, who had traveled to his family farm less than 10 miles away. He had stayed there overnight, and the last time he had seen Pender was the morning of the 22nd. Her brother, mother, and partner reported Pender missing, but she had already been gone for more than 2 days. They entered the home and found the baby clothes in bags, still neatly folded inside. Local rivers and reservoirs were searched, and on August 27th, her disappearance was widely circulated on radio and television. Investigators believed that the person or persons responsible knew Pender. In 1997, they interviewed 5 relatives, but this turned up no additional leads. On May 10, 2008, a person hiking in a remote part of the Sleeve Bloom Mountains stumbled on a wooden cross, which read Fiona Pender, buried here Thursday, August 22, 1996. However, a search and excavation of the area turned up no evidence. In 2014, a witness reported...
All right, so someone took the time to go out and put up a cross in a false location. And she's never been found so far, as far as we know, right?
No.
Okay.
So that sort of leads you to believe it's somebody completely different.
Well, that's not the kind of shit the CIA would do at all. A priest
Right.
might.
Well, the bodies would have never been found if it was the CIA. It would,
No.
you know.
My suggestion was that the bodies would have been found and associated with a known facet of a serial killer.
Oh, okay. Trying to pin it on somebody.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Having an argument with an
I really
Irishman
like the
in the
priest
United
idea.
States who implied that he was responsible for Pender's disappearance, and officials excavated the area outside Tullamore. Her family believed this tip was credible and hoped her body would finally be recovered. However, the search was fruitless. Less than 6 months later, Ciara Breen disappeared an hour north of Dublin in the town of Dundalk. On February 13th, 1997, Breen was just 17 years old.
Well, that's what we were saying about them being unsolved cases, dude, is like we don't have any of the basic evidence you would have for most solved cases. There's stuff they haven't released yet. This is just the information available to the public. So we're not running on all 8 cylinders with this, but that's the idea, is take a look at it and see if anything shakes loose. But I really like the priest idea. Counselor, priest, or somebody functional in the local
Somebody
church.
that somebody would trust, right? That would feel like they were official, right?
Right.
Social worker.
Yeah, we did it just to piss you off, Carrie. Fuck you, Carrie. Fuck you. Hey, anyone who has any complaints about the show, be sure to direct them to my complaints department. Mandatory Carrie. Yep. There we go. Yes. All people suck. That's true. And also Epstein client list.
She had spent the day with her mother, dining at a local cafe before returning home for dinner. Her mother was due to receive biopsy results, and the two were anxious about the outcome. They spoke briefly that night before turning in for bed around midnight. A few hours later, her mother woke and found the window open with Breen missing. It's believed that she left of her own accord, and she was wearing a black leather jacket, jeans, sweatshirt, and white t-shirt. Breen was rebellious, and her mother believed she would return before sunrise. She never did. There were very few leads.
There we go again. She willingly walks out her door with somebody.
Well, again, I forgot what John Denicola said. Cop. That's another.
But if a cop showed up at your house and was like, "Hey, we need to go out to the woods or come with me," would you go with them just because they said come with me?
Well, I mean, I'm a little bit different than most average people, but I think most average people probably would jump in the cruiser if a cop showed up and said, "Oh, I need to talk to you. Let's take a ride down to the station."
I don't know, man. I don't know. Like, I'm sorry, but you're going to have to show up with a team with me. You're going to have a warrant. You want some of this. I will meet you down at the police station, later this afternoon. We can make an appointment, but you're not just going to show up and jack my ass without a warrant. That shit ain't happening.
But dude, there's too many bootlickers in this country. People that would just jump right in, and people that think it's okay. People who think it's okay when they kill people, right? I don't know.
You just made a very good point. This is not this country. Specifically, this is Ireland.
Right.
I understand it. They're just like feudal serfs. They don't really belong. They're not really people yet, or something. I don't know.
I don't really know much about them, to be fair.
I don't know a whole lot about Ireland either, but I hear it's part of like a UK of some kind.
Eddie Griffin's from Ireland.
Yeah. He's pretty cool too.
Yeah, Eddie's a cool dude.
He does the best Uncle Fester impression I've ever seen in my life.
Oh, really? I don't think I've ever seen that.
Dude, it is, oh boy, talk about ticklish. He was changing a light bulb one day, and he turned and looked at the camera, and he did the pose and stuck the light bulb in his mouth and said, "I can't light it."
I think somebody said nobody would trust a priest, but would trust the nun. I didn't catch it. What'd that say? Killer, the police officer, nun.
No one would trust a priest, but probably would trust a nun.
There you go.
So are we talking a team, or are we talking like just a nun? We have a mad nun out there just wrestling people down with chloroform. I don't.
Well, I mean, we're putting out ideas, right? Cop, nun.
I'm just saying.
We got a
like,
few people.
I don't see Mother Superior tackling some chick that was just go-go dancing.
Not all of these people were into drugs, so we can't really say drug counselor. Sounded good for a minute with the one person who was an addict, but
This chick left her home with this individual. Was just sitting around. In fact, two of the others before, one of them hadn't put up the groceries yet. So dude shows up with the pistols, like getting a car, and she don't scream. I don't get it.
Yeah. It's a trip.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I don't know.
He's also non-father or creepy milkman.
Leads for investigators to follow. There were some potential sightings in Warren Point and Kilkeel, but none were confirmed. In 2015, investigators arrested a man in his 50s, Liam Mullen. He lived in the area at the time of the disappearance, and he is known to have had contact with Breen. However, he was released without charges. Then, Mullen was arrested a second time based on sightings of him with Breen on the night of her disappearance and comments he made regarding her body being dumped in a local bog. The marshland off RD Road was searched by officials, but again, they recovered no evidence of Breen. Mullen died in 2017 of an overdose while in police custody. Investigators believed his confession was their best hope for finally resolving Breen's disappearance. No additional information has been released. Fiona Sinnott was a 19-year-old mother with an 11.
All right. Nobody has been over 27. One of them 26. The rest of these have been adult women, dark-haired, slight.
He or she doesn't like them old.
Does not like them old.
Likes them small.
Small. That's why I say it's a large man. I like that dude they just showed. He has the build that it would take to do this. Right. But would anybody trust that dude? He looks creepy as shit to me. I wouldn't get nothing with him. Like that.
I hate everybody, so I wouldn't give anybody anything.
I really trip out when people call me racist because I hate all you motherfuckers equally.
Exactly.
Old baby girl. On February 9th, 1998, just less than a year after the disappearance of Sierra Breen, Sinnott vanished after leaving her favorite pub, Butler's of Broadway, in Ballyhit, less than 2 hours south of Dublin. Sinnott was drinking with friends from around 5 p.m. to just after midnight. She told her friends that she was having a pain in her arm. Strangely, her former partner and father of her child, Sean Carroll, was in the pub that night drinking at the bar, although he was not with Sinnott and her friends. A little after midnight, she left the pub joined by Carroll, and the two walked to her nearby rented home, Sinnott still complaining of a pain in her arm. She went to sleep shortly after their return.
Which arm? Left arm, right arm?
Pretty
Forearm?
important part of the right or left.
Upper arm, lower arm. Was it her palm? Was it like her underarm? I mean, like I've got so many questions.
And Carol stayed the night on the couch. When she woke the next morning, she was still in pain and had plans to go to the doctor's office later that day. Carol left for his family home, returning later.
That is another excellent question. As I understand it, it's between 3 different population centers. And the only thing that ties this together is that they are in this general area, and they're all young-ish, at least, long hair. I think all but JoJo had long hair. The picture of JoJo didn't have long hair, but she may have had long hair at the time. Disposed of in a smaller area in the mountains, picked up and carried typically through crowded streets. I'm telling you, it's got to be somebody that looks like they're supposed to have some young girl tailing along behind them. A local pimp or something. I don't know. Maybe they didn't have his money. But yeah, no, the same bar. That's a good question. I don't think it's the same bar. I think it's different bars in different places because it's a triangle, right? The Vanishing Triangle is what it's called. Ooh, that's a good one, Dennis. A cab driver. That's really good. I like that. All right, you get the participation trophy of the night for that one.
Definitely, that's a good one. That totally slipped our mind there.
We didn't even thought about that.
To check on Sinnott, only to find her missing. She was quickly reported missing, and investigators conducted a search of her apartment, finding the majority of her possessions were missing. They claimed it looked as though Sinnott and her daughter never lived there at all. A neighbor claims to have seen black trash bags outside the apartment, and a nearby farmer found trash bags containing clothing with Sinnott's name on his property. He burned the clothes, thinking they were the result of illegal dumping.
Or Puff. Down, girl. Although I will be putting my cop outfit on real soon.
Several tips have been shared with family members.
Do I?
No, go ahead. I was reading your comment. You're good.
Yeah, I'm just saying, if it was police officer, I'd happily put on the cuffs myself and say some creepy crap to them right into any man or woman in uniform and not picky.
Good one.
Yeah.
Hope the crickets aren't too bad.
No, you go with it, dude. It's fine.
I'm sitting outside. It's hot.
Sitting outside. Yeah, no, you're good, dude. No complaints here. Book them, Dano.
Investigators launching teams to several sites. One as recent as 2020. Officials were especially hopeful about a nearby field where fresh cement was poured around the time of her disappearance. Tragically, these digs turned up no additional evidence, and the disappearance of Fiona Sinnott has since gone cold. Deirdre Jacob was 18 years old at the time of her disappearance. She lived in Newbridge, where Phyllis Murphy was last seen waiting for her bus in 1979. At the time, Jacob was training to become a teacher at St. Mary's College, and she was spending a summer in Ireland. On July 28th, she planned to visit her grandmother and stop by the bank. She had to post a check in the mail that day to secure her accommodations in London for her second year of.
A postman?
I don't even know what that is.
We're at the mailbox. We're at the post office again.
Oh, okay. I was wondering, are we going back over there?
No, this is a different chick picked up at the same post office.
Wow, that's weird.
That is weird.
I wonder how many people are in this town or this, relative area. I mean, is it semi?
Hey, no. Old guy Mitch has another good one. Homie stalking the trains.
Huh.
I bet
Still,
you don't.
No.
There. Listen, over there, the post offices are quite often right there on or next to the train depots.
The thing is, though, getting somebody out of a city without anybody else seeing that person make a sound, or seeing you drag it into a van or a car, or I guess it was a red Ford truck, seems pretty difficult. It was somebody who was trusted, so.
Yeah. I still like the priest concept or alderman or alder boy or whatever you call them. Somebody that's big enough to do the deed, but not threatening.
And they're all women too, right?
So far, yeah. Like I said before, I said this before. I think that might be a selection bias in the actual selection of cases. I don't think they selected any male disappearances in that area.
But what about a woman? Couldn't she have done this? Woman trusting another woman. Hey, you know.
No, that was the concept of the nun. It would associate with all the different people involved. Although the last two, we haven't heard how many brothers or sisters they have, and no idea as to their religious perspective. A post office, train station. I don't see why a train attendant could order you out of your house, though. That's going to be difficult. Cop could under the right circumstances if he was debonair and
yeah, if he was a good looking motherfucker, right?
Which is what Orb Puff was saying.
I think all women love a man in a uniform. I'm just saying.
To hear her tell it, she'd go with the gas man too, as long as he was in the uniform. How about the working guy? You ever seen one of them? They've got a cool uniform.
Picking up money.
Yeah, no, that's another thing. A lot of them were either getting their welfare check or depositing or sending some money elsewhere, which is largely what brought them to the post office in the first place. So a government employee, somebody with a welfare office, is there such a thing there? I mean, it does seem.
Yeah, you're right.
I don't know. Right. No, I think a nun would have an issue with this because of size. That she would, I mean, even if she was a big girl, she would have issues trying to, subdue other girls. Although with the pain in her arm that she's experiencing, it could have been an injection. And if it just wasn't reported by anyone else, then this could have been the explanation the whole time. They could be hitting them with polamine or whatever that shit is.
You wouldn't have to struggle with them if you were, Caucasian, I can help you, blah, 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 jump in my car, I'll bring you over to the church, or, we can get you some help. And
I hear you, Smoking Auditor. I do. I understand what you're saying, but here's the problem with it. Not one of these girls were trafficked anywhere but to their death. Although that is another selection bias. We're not looking at missing person cases. We're looking at missing persons cases that were verified that they were dead.
Yeah, we did kind of let the drug dealer thing go away because not all the people were known to be addicts. There was just the one girl that I know of that I remember that they painted as, most of these people seem like just normal people.
Carrie, stop doing fanfics of this. This is not a fanfic. Stop it. You don't get the right to plot. That's not what we're doing here, dude. The sitting your bartenders. Okay, that's another one. Bartenders are easily recognized, often trusted a little more than your average person. But yet again, I don't see a bartender convincing you to leave your house without violence.
Is it speculation that the person was taken out of the house, or is that fact?
I don't think their sexual proclivity actually has anything to do with any of this. I have yet to hear of one that was assaulted in a sexual or physical manner, although they are unsolved cases, and so we may just.
I was trying to say it or Puff, but I didn't want to just. But that's what I was thinking. Some of these lesbians out here where I live, man, they're big girls. They'd be smacking hippie right down into the ground.
Right. I'll tell you that the 3 transvestites and 2 transgenders I know, they're violent people.
Yeah, but they're not violent, but definitely big enough. You ever see that picture of me with the 2 up in Provincetown? I look like a teddy bear.
Right.
They're like 6'4", both of them.
Snack. Little hippie snack.
That's when I found out someone I knew for like 3 years said, "Oh, how do you touch them?" I'm like, "What do you mean, bro?"
Wait. Hold on. The bartender bit. What if it was a bartender working at several bars in the 3 different areas and simply operating from that? I bet you dollars to donuts those bars are within a few blocks of the post office.
Yeah, that would kind of fit into the drug addict and non-drug addict, right?
It doesn't explain the random chick that just left her freaking house in the middle of the afternoon with somebody.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I can't necessarily say that though, because I firmly believe that this selection of cases were chosen specifically because the victims were women. If there were men missing in this area, we have no idea or what circumstances their bodies may have been found in.
I like that. No, but it would explain why the killer going for women, not men. I like it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not terrible. All right. All right.
Of college. Investigators would later collect CCTV footage that captured Jacob on her route in Newbridge. She returned to her grandmother's to say goodbye and left Newbridge on foot around 2:30 p.m. Little is known about the route she may have taken, following Main Street or cutting through side streets. However, around 3:30 p.m., she was spotted by passing motorists on Barrettstown Road, which was less than 10 minutes from her destination. 8 confirmed sightings place her there, 6 of which were from witnesses who knew Jacob personally. The last witness to see her was a passing motorist, who identified her at the driveway of her home. Her mother returned that evening and found the doors locked with no sign of Jacob. She was reported missing that night. Investigators managed to retrace her steps, but they uncovered no additional clues or leads on what may have happened to her that afternoon. Her disappearance was upgraded to a murder in 2018. Cold case investigators attempted to enhance
what?
CCTV footage to identify a man who was seen outside the post office while Jacob was in the area. They believed the man was Larry Murphy, but the enhanced footage was inconclusive. Larry Murphy will be discussed later in this video. There have been no additional developments in the murder investigation of Deirdre Jacob. Claire Boylan was a 36-year-old.
This one's different.
Is this a dude? No, it's a girl, right?
It's a woman. It's a female, but she's short-haired and older. She's 36.
Yeah, she's not fitting the look profile for sure.
Not at all. Like, she's relatively dark-haired. Slight enough, I suppose. Let's see.
I mean, I wouldn't say she's ugly, but she's not pretty.
That's not what I'm saying, but she's not the young spring chicken that he's been going at, or whatever has been going after. Make stupid people famous. Says she looked like me. That's hardcore, bro.
In the South Dublin suburb of Terranure, the same neighborhood where Ava Brennan attended church before her disappearance. Boylan had 5 siblings, and she was the manager of a local bookstore. Her family claims that she...
Not necessarily. I have had circumstances like that take place 3 times in my life. Once was out in the middle of nowhere at this freaking cabin where some random chick showed up banging on the door saying she needed help. But the problem I had was I had seen her ride by with a truck full of guys like 2 seconds ago. She was driving, by the way. That was all. Answer the door. I was like, fuck that shit, dude. I'm just going to sit here with my pistol and drink my vodka. Nope.
You didn't answer the door?
Dude, I ain't even turn on a light. What's funny is it was right before dark, and they rode by real slow, and I saw them go by, and I was out there doing some weeds out of the garden, and it gave me the heebie-jeebie in the word seeing it. So I went inside and didn't. It just turned off the TV, sat down.
That's funny.
I knew something was coming because I was way out there off the grid, bro. They can't. If they make it by my house, they were coming to my house.
It's something I always say on my live stream all the time. You know that like 30 years ago, 40 years ago, when someone knocked on the neighbor's door, you know, they said, "Hey, can I borrow, $200? I ain't got any groceries. Can you give me some food?" In the old days, people would help each other's out. Today, you knock on your neighbor's door, and before you even get there, they're shutting the TV off, closing the curtains.
No, dude, hear me out now. I had been out there for 4 days. Not a single vehicle that didn't come to my house came by. There is nowhere to go by this house.
Gotcha.
You go further that way, you get to a little turnaround at a creek, and you come back out. That is the only place to go. So when they rode in and rode back out, my response was they're casing the joint. And you can say I'm paranoid and you can say I did wrong, but I ain't hear no stories about no chick being molested with out in the sticks over there ever. Not there. So I'm firmly of the opinion that they came to rob my ass and they decided not to come in because I had a big dog over there too. And so when they knocked on the door, it was like row, 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 and then she just left. The other thing was the way she left. She was like, I need help. Can somebody help? And then she heard the dog and she just turned and walked away.
Everyone's got a gun your way anyway, don't they? So it makes
bro, our guns outnumber people like 4-1 in this place.
Yeah.
10-1, something like that, dude. Europeans have
I think that she was just checking out your ass while you were pulling weeds and you got mistaken, bro.
No, dude. Well, okay. I have a pretty spectacular ass. I'm not gonna lie, but listen, that was the setup. The second time I had it happen, I was at a trailer park over here, and I was at somebody else's house. And when he left, he said, and I quote, "I don't care if this place catches on fire. Don't open this door." I said, all right. And then some really weird chick showed up banging on the door, screaming she needed help. But keep in mind, there are people cutting grass and going back and forth on the road, and there's things happening. But she's over here beating on this door trying to get in. That's a little sus, right? Especially when I was just told they don't let nobody in. I don't care what happens. So, yeah, I was just like, nah, It's not my house, not my wife, not my firewood.
Yeah, wacky cats rubbing all over the dog. Like, what the hell? Do that. What the fuck? She's like rubbing her head on the fucking kick. I don't get it.
I need some pets. All right.
She was feeling tired and run down at the time of her disappearance. On March 2nd, 2003, Boylan left her home to meet a friend from school. Her trip would have been 60 plus miles. However, her friend reported that Boylan never arrived for their meeting. On March 4th, she didn't show up for her shift at the bookstore. Her brother reported her missing. Several witnesses claimed to have seen her in her suburban neighborhood. Her family was hopeful she might reappear, but the unconfirmed sighting stopped just a few weeks after her disappearance. Family members and officials determined that no personal effects were missing from her room. Her luggage and passport were easily found, and investigators determined that she had not used her bank cards since her reported disappearance. One reporter, Gareth O'Callaghan, who investigated the disappearance of a young boy, Philip Cairns, stumbled upon a strange connection to the disappearances of Claire Boylan and Ava Brennan. He was reporting on a ring of predators in the area who were powerful and depraved men, and he claimed that an anonymous source named one man as having stalked Boylan and Brennan before their disappearances. However, there are no additional sources confirming this implication, and no additional information has been released about the disappearance of Claire Boylan. In 1998, the media attention drove the public to believe these cases may be connected, and police responded to that fear by establishing the Missing Persons Task Force known as Operation Trace. They officially named 6 cases as their focus. However, former investigators and web sleuths unofficially speculate that many more cases are linked under the umbrella of the Vanishing Triangle. The special unit was the brainchild of the Commissioner Pat Byrne and the Assistant Commissioner.
Who was it that said a cop turned trafficker? Which one of you savvy bastards came up with that one?
Was that John?
Because they're specifically not including just people who just disappeared. That's another one of the selection biases I was talking about.
You mean just random missing persons?
Yeah, no, it's not including those. They're just including the ones that are verified dead, that they found something that proved they were dead. So the other cases that we've heard about may not be directly associated, but fit a certain amount of something we don't know ties them together.
Right. And that's why they're not releasing it, right?
Yeah. That's what I'm thinking. There is reason to believe they're associated beyond what we've been told, including what this guy just said about a group of high power individuals locally that were involved in some form of trafficking. A cop, a local cop, or hell, any cop might be able to pull that off under the right circumstance. You showed up with the right documentation, I'll go with you quietly. And if it was a judge, a cop, the mayor, the postmaster.
Nah, not the postmaster.
Yeah, it's too good, ain't it?
I think priest, nun, cop, taxi driver. I mean,
I really like the priest dude. I think that really fits the bill.
Yeah.
Missing 304s. Except for
why is it all men though? What is it that?
Suspicion?
I mean, I guess it could be a woman cop.
Sure, it could be. And yes, once you get them in cuffs, you'd have pretty good control over them, especially if you got a billy club and you whack them around. But how do you stop them from screaming and telling people what's up? You know, that's my issue. That's where I run into a problem.
Drugs, but we don't have everybody leading to drugs. So
we haven't, although if they were just using drugs on the people, it could appear as though these people were on drugs to start with. And if trafficking is involved, then you've already got drugs in the mix without having to do anything.
Right.
Fucking Undertaker. Dennis has cracked it.
Huh. Somebody who's lost somebody who wants to talk to them about how to bury their loved one. Yeah, but that would have all been in the list too.
Wait. I know who done it. You know that guy that calls you up and wants to talk about your car's extended warranty?
Yeah. How's he getting the woman in the car without? He's a little skinny Indian guy.
Commissioner Tony Hitt at the helm. Because many of those who vanished were never recovered, investigators had a difficult time linking the cases. There were some similarities in victimology, as all of those who disappeared were young to middle-aged women who vanished suddenly from the eastern part of Ireland. The cases of McCarrick, Dullard, and Jacob remained cold. Despite intensive investigation and media scrutiny, officials failed to come up with evidence, recover remains, or locate suspects. However, there was some traction in the cases of Pender, Sinnott, and Breen. Unofficially, it's believed that the perpetrators of these disappearances were known to their victims and may be unconnected. In 2005, the National Bureau of Criminal Investigations uncovered information on the Fiona Sinnott case. They had acquired an advanced system known as VICLAS, short for Violent Crime Linkage Analysis System, which cross-checked inquiries in multiple violent and serious crimes. This system led to the arrests of 2 men and 3 women with close ties to the Sinnott family. However, they were later released. Strangely, the case of
clown, maybe? Would you leave your home with a clown? Absolutely. Not even.
I'm scared shitless of clowns. No, thank you.
No way. I'm not particularly afraid of them, but ever since Gacy, I just don't fucking trust them. These are people who put masks on in public and nobody says anything about it. That is unsavory at best.
Or even better, they get paid for it.
I can understand that to an extent, which is why I don't shoot them on sight. But I just don't trust them.
Right. Same here.
So the next time you wonder why we need extended magazines, I want you to watch a clown car in action. That's why we need extended magazines, bro.
Right?
of Sierra Breen received renewed media attention in 2010 when retired Detective Inspector Pat Maury announced that he had previously received 2 anonymous letters directing officials to speak to a man who was already their prime suspect. It's believed that these letters implicated Liam Mullen, who on his second arrest was tearful in the interrogation room, close to breaking, when his appointed counsel arrived and interrupted the interview. As mentioned previously, Mullen would later overdose.
Hold on, was this an Irish interview? As I understand it, that involves like being pelted with potatoes. Those things can hurt, bro. Those things can really hurt. Frozen potatoes could be dangerous. Oh, I didn't ask, Carrie. I know I'm good, bro.
Dose in police custody. In 2015, multiple digs were conducted nearby, one of which unearthed clothing that may have belonged to Breen. Similarly, officials believe Fiona Pender was disappeared by a man who knew her family and was living in the Midlands in the 1990s. Investigators have been unable to secure evidence supporting their suspicions. Although Operation Trace has since disbanded, cold case investigators continue to respond to tips they believe may be credible, executing searches in rural areas with drones, cadaver dogs, and ground-penetrating radar. Many former investigators have been vocal with the media,
Let me explain. I don't tend to go places where clowns are common. So if I come across a clown in an unusual non-clown space, I'm already on edge, bro. That is a red flag from beyond the pale. It's just, you can't trust them. What are you going to tell the cops? It was this dude with a big red nose and a horseshoe head, big hands with a hoop, and
size 17 shoe.
I got killed by a clown. Wait, what? No.
Yeah. Good.
I'm just saying no, man. You're not. That's just like the emu. I'll tell you about the emu. All right, check this out. I went turkey hunting during turkey season in an area where I had permission to hunt with the proper tags and everything, right? That's not how the story goes. What was going on is I was deer hunting with all the proper stuff, and some turkeys ran out in the field. And I look out there, and there's this fucking like 6 foot tall freaking turkey out there, but it's not a turkey. It doesn't look anything like a turkey. And my brain could not put together what I was looking at. And so after sitting there for a minute, I realized it was an emu. I was looking at a fucking emu walking with a bunch of turkeys. And at first I was like, okay, well, I'm going to shoot the emu because it's clearly an escaped freaking pet or something. You know what I'm saying? Not pet, but like a bird. It's a invasive species. You can't let them walk around like that. So, and then I thought about it for a minute, went, dude, suppose I missed that emu and the game warden sees me shooting at turkeys and he comes over to me and is like, what are you doing shooting at those turkeys? That's a $10,000 fine and 5 years in jail, bro.
Wow.
And I tell the game warden, oh, I wasn't shooting at the turkeys. I was shooting at the emu. That's not going to fly, bro. There's no way in hell I don't spend 5 years in jail and a $10,000 fine for telling me a fucking emu.
That is weird. I don't know what would have made me a little more. A bunch of fucking emus in the middle of the field. I mean, what the fuck?
No, it wasn't a bunch of emus. It was just one. There was about 12 or 14 turkeys and this one fucking emu who just wandered out with the rest of the turkeys. Like, all right, so back in the 70s and 80s, a bunch of people started raising emus as herd animals around here. There were a dozen or so emu farms locally, and then during Hurricane Ivan, a whole bunch of people's crap got just destroyed, like all across middle Georgia. And some of these farmers saw an opportunity to get out of the emu business and cash in on the insurance. And so a whole bunch of emus just got turned loose, right? And so this is like, I don't know, late 90s or so. And I'm not even joking, dude. I got a bead on that sucker. It was fixed to do it. And I thought about it and went, oh no, there's a game. That is a plant. The game warden's going to fry my ass. I'm going to jail forever. And I just climbed down out of the fucking deer stand and went home. My pops even got pissed with me and was like, why did you shoot the emu? All right. And yet again, I'm going to shoot at some turkeys and tell the judge that I was shooting at an emu. I'm sure that'll go just fine. I ain't going out like that. Nope.
requesting additional resources and cold case detectives to help crack these cases. The following are potential suspects in the cases of the Vanishing Triangle. Robert Howard has never been officially named as a person of interest in the Vanishing Triangle cases. However, many reporters and amateur investigators have noted his presence in the area, history of abduction, and violent temperament. One journalist claims he is the personification of evil in Ireland. Howard's life of crime began when he was convicted of burglary as a 13-year-old boy. When he was 19, he was convicted of assaulting a toddler pretending to be a doctor. As a result, he was sentenced to just 9 days in an institution. He later married, and local officers and neighbors knew him as a domestic abuser. As a young adult, he was convicted of numerous assaults and robberies, preying on female victims. He graduated to multiple kidnappings, holding his female victims hostage for days. In multiple cases, victims were too traumatized to testify or too fearful to provide evidence which would lead to a substantial conviction. At the time, there was no offender registry, so he was able to easily relocate to separate jurisdictions and seek out new victims relatively unimpeded. Howard has a long sordid history of assaulting young women in Ireland in the mid-1990s, and he was the last person seen with several teenagers before their disappearances. During this time, Howard began referring to himself as the Wolf Hill Werewolf.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I want to be perfectly clear about this. If you ever have anyone in your life suddenly start referring to themselves as some type of werewolf, and I don't mean furries, werewolf, that man needs to have his hard drive searched. Yes, yes sir.
He was known to be in the area when Annie McCarrick and Jojo Dullard disappeared. He was officially investigated by members of Operation Trace, who determined that there was no definitive connection between Howard and these disappearances. He often sought to befriend an older relative of the family before targeting his victims.
All right, bud.
Reporter Jilly Beatty claims to have multiple sources, some former investigators, who would stake their life savings on the fact that Howard is involved in some or all of these cases. In 2003, he was tried and convicted of the assault and murder of Hannah Williams, a 15-year-old schoolgirl. He was sentenced to life in prison, and he died there in 2015 of natural causes. As previously mentioned, John Crerar attacked and murdered Phyllis Murphy in 1979. Initially, he was a prime suspect, but officials couldn't convict him until 2002 as a result of advancements in DNA technology. Forensic psychologists have suggested that Crerar was not likely to have stopped on his own, and many have speculated that Crerar spent his additional 23 years as a free man targeting additional women in the Irish Midlands. During the investigation, several other allegations of abuse and assault were uncovered. Multiple girls between the ages of 10 and 15 provided statements to officials and reporters about repeated and vicious abuse. Crerar reportedly threatened his victims, offered them money, and discredited their reputation to keep their allegations quiet. However, officials could find no evidence, and no charges were brought against him for these allegations. In the 1990s, Crerar had a reputation. Locals knew him as someone who was quick to accost women and children in passing. At the time, he worked as a guard at a horse ranch, which
I'm going to assume that this town doesn't have any what we call colloquially good old boys. Because let me tell you about that good old boys club. They don't always do shit legally, but they get that shit done. Your ass be over there whapping up on like one kid, maybe two in public, and that's your ass, bud. And I ain't talking about out of town on a rail. I don't mean you get tarred and feathered. I mean a couple of big, strong cornbread-fed white boys show up in the middle of the night and carry your ass out in the woods and have a conversation with you while you dig a hole. And then they take you home, hopefully, depending on how you talk while you're digging that hole. Take you out to a creek and show you some alligators, right? So I hear tell you've been hanging around little kids. That's a nice alligator. You like that alligator? That's a good one. I think it'd be a good fit for you. But listen,
you ain't finding the teeth from that one.
And even if you do, some of it shouldn't have been canoeing in the dark in the middle of the swamp.
Right. Out here, we got the gray whites now.
Somebody's after your crown. There's a PC audits out there.
Abutted a disused quarry. One woman went on record stating that she saw Kharar frequently entering and exiting the quarry, and on several occasions, she reported seeing him digging there and igniting large burn piles. On the night of Jojo Dullard's disappearance, this witness saw Kharar's vehicle outside the entrance gate of the quarry. Another witness claimed to have heard screams coming from the quarry on the night of Deirdre Jacobs' disappearance. Living in a rural area, she supposed it could have been wildlife. However, weeks later, she noticed a terrible stench coming from the area.
Hippie, don't you sell worms?
I grow worms. I have about 100,000 worms in my yard.
Yeah, I don't even know how many I have.
I'll have to make a cool video of when I put a banana in there, and then about 2 days later, you go out and lift a banana, and you scoop your hand underneath the banana, and literally you've got 10,000 worms. What we call a meatball of worms. It's amazing.
I got an aquaponics system over here, and you can take the little rake and just rake the rocks away from the side and just pick up the freaking spaghetti noodle of worms.
Nice.
One reporter claims that a witness saw Kharar arguing with a young man in the disused quarry late one night. This witness claims that the second man was the Beast of Baltinglass, also known as Larry Murphy. Larry Murphy was a carpenter who lived in the area of multiple victims during the time of their disappearance.
Got the same eyes as that woman.
But in 2000, he was convicted of kidnapping and assault. He had been stalking a woman in the area, and he abducted her from the street, forcing her into the trunk of his vehicle and absconding with her. He drove her to a place in the Wicklow Mountains. Two hunters on him strangling and assaulting the victim.
So absconding is whenever you take someone, either dupe them into going with you or trick them, or you physically take them. You abscond with something. You run away with it. You can go take like a book and abscond with the book. You run off with the book in a nefarious way. It's not a good thing ever. Right.
Officers reported that Murphy was disturbingly calm during capture and court proceedings. Murphy's conviction brought a 15-year sentence, but he would only serve 10 years. During his time in prison, investigators from Operation Trace found commonalities in the cases of Annie McCarrick, Jojo Dullard, and Deirdre Jacob, linking them to Murphy. Furthermore, there are additional connections in the case of Deirdre Jacob. Invoices and receipts indicate that Murphy was in Newbridge at the time of her disappearance, conducting carpentry work at a dance club. Murphy's contact information was found among Jacob's grandmother's possessions after she died of natural causes. It was determined that he had visited her shop with an opportunity to sell wooden toys that he was producing. When CCTV footage of Deirdre Jacob was digitized in 2017, investigators began pursuing new leads. They believed Murphy was captured in the footage too, and they sent tapes along with his picture for forensic analysis. The results were deemed compelling, yet inconclusive. Lastly, a fellow prisoner who was close with Murphy claimed that he had confessed when the two got drunk behind bars. Some of the details divulged by Murphy overlapped with details a psychic had given them about the case. However, these details were not released to the public. Murphy was released after serving just
Wait, they got drunk in jail?
No, psychic. The psychic dude. Like the corroboration for the guy in jail, the guy in jail was some psychic, and they never released any of that information from either side. Psychic. $2 says that guy in jail was pen pals with the psychic.
Gotcha.
Just 10 years of his sentence, the nation was incensed, and Murphy fled to Holland, Spain, then Amsterdam in the following years. It's believed that he currently resides in London. Despite connections with these unofficial suspects, almost all of the cases profiled here remain unsolved, and these disappearances continue to haunt the nation of Ireland. Many of these women disappeared without a trace, some from the driveways of their own homes, and many of those who remain within the Vanishing Triangle are terrified by the thought
That's exactly
of
what I was
one or
thinking.
more active serial killers prowling the mid, waiting for their next.
How come he had knowledge of the case, right?
All right. How'd you like that, hippie?
Yeah, I mean, it was a bit dragged out, but it was definitely interesting.
I mean, the format. The idea that you come in without a whole lot of idea of what's going on. You check out a couple of videos with me. We discuss it during the interim. That's a reaction stream. Congratulations, you've done one.
Woohoo!
Woohoo! You got anything you want to tell everybody before we sign out? I'm fucking starving, dude.
I've been munching on macaroni and cheese, so I was cheating the whole time.
I'm starving. I want these.
I just want to say I love you all. Peace and butt leaves.
All right, bud. I'm gonna drop you backstage. I'll be right with you in a few minutes. Yeah, y'all know how this part goes, right? I love each and every one of you like a brother and a sister. I appreciate you spending your time over here with us. I'm sorry if this is starting to sound a little bit tried and true, but you know, this is kind of the way YouTube goes. Like, comment, and subscribe, or don't. I'm not monetized, so I don't really give a shit. But tomorrow, Saturday, next show, Saturday, is going to be the Cheshire Cat, Sasquatch Shields, the Cheshire Cat, and I've got some interesting things set up for the After Dark that I haven't actually put in. Hey, Daryl, you stick around the whole time? Cool. Neat. We love to hear it. So don't let the man get you down, and we're going to hit one of these buttons over here. I wonder, have I managed to put in a, no, I haven't. Remind me to redo my outro.
Sorry. Good news, though. We're going to have to move the party somewhere a little bit more private, but you're all invited. Lorenzo will give you the details. Yeah!
Hey, she was a cutie in a sundress.